In the middle of the night, or early Friday morning, depending upon where you are in the world, a group of experienced comics professionals get together to examine and instruct about the art form that they love. That's great comic artwork on Comics by Night, Fridays at 5 a.m. Eastern, here on the Indie Comics Network, indiecomicsnetwork.com.
What was that? This is not a charade.
Oh, Rodney. I miss that guy. Oh, how's everybody doing this morning?
Going crazy as usual.
Crazy as usual. It's crazy around here, too.
Yeah, I did something irresponsible last night.
Oh, okay. Do tell.
I stayed up all night.
The whole night?
The whole night, though, yeah.
No
I
sleep
got
at all?
like an hour sleep. Yeah.
Did you get any work done?
No, I was irresponsible entirely.
Uh-oh.
Entirely
binge?
irresponsible.
Did you binge watch something?
Yeah, just binge watching shows and stuff, and
That wasn't irresponsible. That was doing research.
But yeah, we call that research, see?
it wasn't.
Used to call it that every time I went to the strip club. Going out to do research. See ya.
It's my study in anatomy.
Yep, that's it exactly.
So, I've had my son doing some research for me. Speaking of research, trying to find a new computer. Because my main machine that I use is a 2019 MacBook Pro, but it's been running hot, guys. Like it's been running up in the 200 degrees Fahrenheit kind of range, right?
You're bound to fry something eventually.
Right. And I can't figure out why it's running so hot.
It's amazing.
Blown it out, cleaned it out,
Like an island in the sun.
Yeah, right. It's nuts. And
Have you told it to simmer down now?
yeah, I'll do that today. That'll be my next simmer down now.
Simmer down now.
Simmer down now. It's like if you're looking up Donna Summer in the phone book, what would it say? Simmer down now.
Yes.
No, so it's been a little bit every day. We have to deal with crashes. So yesterday it's been probably a good hour, just deleting programs I don't need, clearing out old files, moving anything from my downloads, to somewhere else, like just clearing stuff up,
Max
seeing if
can't.
maybe there's something going on. But
Macs can't catch viruses, can they?
no, they don't catch viruses. Not that I know of anyway, but I don't go anywhere to get viruses. So I pretty much just work.
You never know. You never know anymore.
Yeah.
You can go to
Yeah,
the
I
most
pretty much-
innocent site you can imagine. It's all
Yeah.
spamware.
Yeah, I pretty much just work. So I mean, worst case scenario, if things crash, then I'll and I can't get them back up, I'll run the website from my wife's computer, and then I'll just draw a couple traditional pages instead of digital. And they'll get some free traditional pages.
Yeah.
And then I'll just get a new machine.
Just blame
Do
Bleeding
anything
Cool
else.
and all their pop-up ads.
Well, yeah, I could do that. Yeah, I could do that. Yeah, but other than that, it's been a good week. We've been working hard, getting things done. Had a convention over the weekend.
Yeah, me too.
Nick Tockard put it on.
There you are. Awesome.
Yeah, it was small, but believe it or not, I made more money at that little tiny convention. There was 8 vendors. There was 8 vendors and maybe 40 people that wound up showing up that day.
Yeah.
Right? Because I mean, it's small town, right?
Only takes one.
Right? But I
You
made
have a
more
great
money.
show. Yeah.
Yeah, I made more money.
Who's beeping?
Yeah,
That's my dehumidifier.
all right.
Nah.
Hey,
Yeah,
no mind.
I made more money in that one show than I did in the last 2 or 3
Yeah.
combined.
Sometimes those little shows, those one-day shows, you get that one-on-one and you're able to show your stuff off to folks and they realize how great it is. It does real good. Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
yelling over everybody else.
Yeah. that
I don't have to worry about that. You know, I can take my time.
Yep.
There's no rush. It all worked out pretty good. You know, so
Yeah.
did pretty good. How did your convention do?
Mine was okay. It was the Great Lakes Comic Con. Had a lot of comic guests, which was really cool. Had the young kid and the young girl from Land of the Lost, the original Land of the
Oh,
Lost,
very cool.
and Atreyu from Never Ending Story was there as well. A couple
Oh,
of voice
nice.
actors, but
back in my
mostly
day.
it was artists, comic artists. Got to see Tim Vigil for the first time in like 20 years. Larry
Nice.
Stroman came over and said hello. I don't know if you know who I am, but I you're on my Facebook and I know you're a friend of mine. So I just wanted to stop by and say hello. It's like, yeah, okay. Cool. I know who
Very
you are.
good.
Buddy. Yeah.
So welcome our guest today.
Todd Johnson. That was good. Yeah. Hey.
Good guest today, Vaughn
sorry
Coleman.
about that. Took a while, but I'm here.
That's
Not a
all right,
problem.
man. Yeah, I was just talking about my random computer problems. So we're randomly crashing, you know, like things like the computer, and it's the same crash report every time. CPU panic. I'm like, man, that's
That's the name of my favorite
thing.
band.
right. Yeah. Whiskey, how was your week, man?
Busy. Like once again, just mostly just getting that show up and running. So it was just like getting that stuff. I'm afraid I can't do that live stream stuff set up, and then editing videos, and plus my regular work, and then doing stuff for you, and it's just been hectic, right?
Yeah, that first show went pretty good. good.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah. And that streams exclusively on Rumble.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Afraid I can't do that on the Bandit Ricochet channel.
Well, you know, that's not the worst thing because YouTube likes to mess with you.
Mhm.
I don't know if you guys have been noticing this, but like I'll just drop subs and drop views out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I noticed that too. It's really weird. Well, I don't know about views as much. You mean like they take away views?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like
I've
Like, I'll
experienced it
look
once.
at it and like, oh, Nerd Bacon had like 150 views today, and like, oh, Nerd Bacon had 87 views. Like, how did it?
The
how did that happen?
gaslighting, dude. It's so good.
It's like, oh my gosh, yeah. So it's nuts, and
Well, it keeps
you know.
keeps them from having to pay you more, right?
it does, and so the memberships and the super chats are all great, right? They definitely help to go towards the the housekeeping around here.
Somebody's calling to talk about Vaughn's car warranty extension. Yeah.
Is your warranty, yeah. And but it all helps. But man, they take so much. They take so much of their part on that, you know.
Yeah.
It's quite crazy, quite crazy.
Yep. So
Vaughn, how's your week been, man?
It's been good. It's been good. A lot of hard work. But you know, it's one of those weeks I'm like doing stuff that I think is gonna pay off eventually. But yeah, I'm not there yet. I finished a video essay finally because I forced myself to stop on Final Fantasy VII. The 40. I was like, oh, it won't be that long, and then it ended up being 49 pages. So
goodness.
So that's been good. I'm gonna start. I started like editing the trailer. I'm kind of laying the groundwork for the trailer for my comic. Figured it was more than about time to get that in order.
Yeah, you're getting close to launch. So, okay, so for everyone that doesn't know who Vaughn is, let's tell everyone about yourself a little bit. So, who are you? What do you do? And why the heck are you on Nerd Bacon today?
Yeah, so a couple of things. So, my name is Vaughn Coleman, obviously. So I'm a comic book, as of now, unpublished writer. I do filmmaking as well, and that's what I majored in. By the way, is there an echo? Oh, there's an echo out here.
You're fine here.
I don't hear you here.
I hear an echo. But okay, anyway. So I do that. I'm gonna be a first-time self-published first time. What? All right, I kept hitting snooze. That was the problem. And I'm finally getting my own work out there. And I also, fun fact for those in the audience who have read it, the first gig I ever got in comics was as an editor for Hunter Ninja Bear.
Oh, cool.
Oh, there you are. Good for you.
So
cool.
After that, you know, obviously getting my first work editing Chuck Dixon, I rode the coat to that. Funny enough, I never met Chuck, but yeah, it was great. And from there, I've been working on this comic, and I decided, because I wanted to have a quick turnaround time, because, you know, people often wait very long for crowdfunded books. So my plan was to have the book completely done by launch, or at least like the majority. And as I was thinking, I was like, well, the crowdfunding period is going to be a long period of time. Well, 30 days or so. I'll get pages done during those days anyway. Might as well. It would actually be for a quicker turnaround time if I launched the campaign sooner. And so I'm deciding on that. But we are more than 50% done through the book. It's going to be 64 pages, and I'm really excited for it.
That's cool. So you got started in film, right? So you're a fairly young guy. You're probably a lot younger than our panel here.
It's possible. It's possible.
Make me feel a little old. So when did you So what made you decide to go to school for film?
Oh man. In all honesty, it was like there wasn't really anything else. It was like, so I have been into storytelling, coming up with my own ideas. The idea I have for my comic that I'm working on now, I came up with in second grade, right? I have been coming up with ideas for movies and stuff like that ever since I was a little kid. And so it was just kind of a natural thing. It was like my mom was like, "Oh, you want to go to school for film?" And it was so weird because I hadn't thought about it in practical terms. I was always just like, "Yeah, I'll just," you know, my mindset as a kid was always, "Oh, you know, I'll just go up to the executives, pitch my ideas as a little kid, and they'll be like, genius," you know, which reality is mean.
Reality is mean, right? Yeah.
Wow.
It's like the music industry, you know. You think,
until you wake up and you realize, oh wait, why would they ever hand millions to a second grader? Yeah. But reality can still be mean. But yeah, so I majored in that. I love writing. I love acting. I love directing. I kind of like producing. I don't know. Producing's it's everyone. I had to do it as a publisher. Like I'm doing the same stuff I did as a producer. That's one of the things I'm realizing is like that's basically the same thing. But you know, I mean, writing. I kind of realized that writing is my favorite of the bunch. And so it was a natural thing. And as I was in college, I kept thinking about all my ideas, right? and how I love these big budget superhero stories because I was a fan of comics too. And I was like, and I think Chris Claremont's X-Men really kind of changed my mind a bit because it was like, it was just the constant flow of ideas that the comic book medium can do in a visual way. And I realized like I love making films, but like I had to raise like $4,000 for a film that I wasn't even able to pay my crew on because it was just all film students for a short film that was shot in just one location with like 3 characters. And I'm like, okay, well, so you're gonna have to spend a ton of money and scale down all your ideas for years, and I'm just gonna have to sit on all my favorite action whatever ideas.
All the good stuff, right?
Yeah. And I was like, well, look, I'm young. I have all this energy. I want to get it out there. And I also, and this is an important part because I notice studios do this all the time. I actually love comics. You know, and it was like, I came with this originally as a movie idea. And I'm now at a point where I don't even care if it gets adapted. All right. And that doesn't mean I wouldn't be excited. I'd want creative control because I don't trust Hollywood with ideas.
Well, but rightfully so. Your Spidey senses should be tingling when it comes to the studios.
Yeah. It's funny because I first got into comics through the movies, and now I'm like, no, you guys get it wrong. This is how it really is. But yeah, I mean, I guess there were a lot of reasons I kind of started doing comics more, but I'm glad I'm here.
It was really funny back in the day. My wife used to constantly say, well, the book was better than the movie, right? And then I never really understood that sentiment until they started making comic book movies.
Oh,
and then
boy.
I was like, oh, the book is way better than the movie. So I really started to get into that. But
you don't think Dark Phoenix was as good as...
No, not even close.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was terrible. So we're going to learn a little bit more about you today. You've got a comic book in that is in sign up. And so we're going to try to get some people to sign up for your campaign that's going to be launching. When does your campaign launch?
Launches March 29th. It's going to be launching on Reenie's channel too.
Right.
So she's going to be hosting my launch party at 7 p.m.
Classy lady.
Oh yeah. Very close friend.
Yeah, I've determined if you have something bad to say about Reenie's not the problem, you are. I think that's the
1000%. She's one of my favorite people I've ever known. She's like one of the most loyal friends you'll ever have. Totally hardworking.
Professional.
Absolutely.
Yeah, through and through. And so, so I'm looking forward to learning more about that today. But we also kind of want to get your opinion on some of the news things that we talk about. This is the fun part where we really get to know you. And we've got a bit of a topic today. So today's topic is, it's not me, it's you. Okay? So you've heard the old breakup line, it's not you, it's me. No, this is putting the problem where the problem is. It's not me, it's you. We've all had these horror stories of terrible collaborations. Well, maybe you haven't, not yet. Maybe you have in film, right? At some point, maybe you have.
I'm trying to think.
In comics, if you're around, I don't know, a few times, bad artist, terrible colorist, letters that are, boy, the number of colorists I can tell you about. But so these different kind of partnerships, maybe a bad publisher, and we want to kind of identify, we'll laugh a little bit, talk about some of the bad things there, but we also want to really help identify when is the right time to walk away from those relationships, those partnerships, at a healthy way. What's a good way to do that, to minimize loss, especially if you're pumping money into a creative partner and they just keep sucking it but not produce anything. So we're going to talk about a little bit of those things. But then I really want to dive into what got you into making the comic book, kind of what your journey's been like so far, and some of the highs and some of the lows, and really what makes you passionate about this story called Phenomenova. Right? Oh, yeah. Am I saying it right?
Yes, you are. You are. And that was actually the most controversial thing I've ever done in my life, was name my comic Phenomenova. People have... I cannot tell you, there's some people, that day after I changed the title, there were people that I got the biggest divide of messages. People are like, this is an amazing title. I love it. And then Phil Diaz still every couple days is like, all right, so here's a new title idea. I'm like, dude, he's like, your title sucks. But then, it depends. Some people love it though.
It's all subjective. It's all subjective.
My point is it's going to grow on people because I think of some media I like that I'm like, okay, but like if it was being pitched to me with this title, would I have? Look, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you have to accept it.
I was able to figure out what it said, and it rolls right off the tongue.
I agree. It does. It's just Phenomenon plus Nova. I think people
Phenomenova, yeah. Makes sense. That they're a phenomenon and they've got Nova powers, right?
Powers. Well, not necessarily cosmic powers, but like that they're bright shining stars.
Okay.
Full of power is the idea.
See, cool. That's awesome.
See, but you got the idea. It's almost like it's easy, guys.
It's in the title. It's not like naming your character Cable.
Cable, yeah.
He doesn't have a single cable anywhere. It's okay.
Yeah, I got to Cable for stuff recently, actually.
Thank you, Holocron Records, for the donation there. Whenever we sprinkle a little bacon, super chats, memberships, things like that, we make the bird dance. They flip us the birds. Here you go. Check it out.
Flip.
Hello, lads. Hope all are having an extra crispy morning. Yes, we are. It's very extra crispy today.
Extra crispy.
I actually like my bacon limpy.
What?
Hey, put that back up, Whiskey.
Well, it depends, actually.
Okay. Phenomenova.
Oh yeah, I know. Dude,
Phenomenova.
Dude, there was one day where 3 people sent me that meme.
I was
exact response. Were you?
I love it. Which always reminds me of this video, and let me pull it up real quick because I think you guys are gonna love it. It's in my list of don't lose these videos because these are funny. So obviously we're coming up in election year, so we've got the whole debates are going to happen again. Mm-hmm. This time it's against Biden and Trump again. It's like round two of things that we never asked for, So
that a disaster.
Yeah.
Round two.
Malana.
Yeah. So here, check out this. We're not gonna watch the whole thing, but check this out. I don't know if you've seen it before.
Phenomena. Phenomena. Phenomena.
And it's just more and more of that, but it's so perfectly synced up there.
That's so good.
So yeah, I don't know if you're a fan of that, but that song always gets stuck in my head every time I hear it. So I will literally be walking through the house today. Earworm
of the day.
I learned how to. On every instrument I pick up, I learn how to play that. I don't know why. I go mana dun dun da da da. I start playing the melody. I don't know why. It just maybe because I grew up on Sesame Street. Of course, did you grow up on Sesame Street, Vaughn?
A little bit. I do remember, like, I'd watch it when I was little for sure. Sesame Street. I grew up on a lot of shows. But yeah, Sesame Street was one. It's one that's pretty tough. It's still going, right?
What are you like 25, Vaughn?
24.
24, yeah.
Jeez.
That's about right. Yeah. You're just a tad bit older than my daughter. Yeah, it's she grew up on Dora.
Dora's another one I grew up on. Yeah. Why do you got to choose? I had Sesame Street. My favorite with Thomas the Tank Engine. That was my absolute.
Oh yeah, that was good. And Bear in the Big Blue House.
Wait, Bear in the Big Blue House?
Yeah. You didn't watch that one? Oh,
Hold on. I'm going to look this up. Bear the Big Blue House. I know Clifford the Big Red Dog.
Vaughn is a young lad. You know
now
what? Let's
I
go
know
ahead
how
and
Randy feels.
let's go ahead and welcome.
Oh, Bear the Big Blue House. Okay,
Oh,
I'm familiar with
let's go ahead and welcome our chat this morning while we're before we get too far into today.
I'm sitting here thinking Captain Kangaroo.
Captain Kangaroo. I loved Bozo the Clown.
Big ping pong balls coming down.
What were the furries that drove go-karts?
Oh,
what were those things?
Banana splits.
Banana splits.
Yes, look that up on YouTube. That's another earworm that'll work your way in for the rest of the day.
It'll kill you, man.
What a great show that was.
That's Hanna-Barbera, right?
No, I think it was Sid and Marty Krofft, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know them.
Anything from Sid and Marty Krofft has got that little extra spice that's, could probably only be brought on by recreational drugs.
I've seen it though. The bananas. Yeah.
I gotta confess,
banana splits are great.
They used to dance around after the show with like the live action costumes.
They are it was all guys in costumes. Yeah.
I gotta confess,
no.
It's been a long time since I've seen that though.
The way I know Banana Splits, the song, I have to confess, was I was watching the scene from Kick-Ass, the Banana Splits scene.
Okay.
And my friend's mom was like, "Oh, I know that song.
Yeah.
That's from Banana Splits." And I was like, "What's that?" And that's how I learned about it.
Well, that's okay. That's all right.
Which is why calling homages is actually going to be helpful. To that kind of stuff.
Right, yeah. Welcome, Dave Brink. Hello. Greetings, everyone. Greetings. We've got Comic Crusaders in the house as well. Al Mega. Good morning, Baconites. Good to have you here. Russ Leach, the Comic Book Black Belt's in the house. Good day, Baconeers. We've got Will Pace, Creators Outlet. Bacon. Headless Bourgeoisie. Got to get the French in my mouth this morning. That's what she said. Good morning, everyone. We've got Jolly Green in the house. Good morning. And
I love Jolly Green.
Aaron C. is here. Welcome. It's good to have you here. We've got Manticore. Welcome. Hail the chat. It's good to see you here this morning. The Bourgeoisie says, Luke, I received the Hybrids, the Sons of God's graphic novel that I won at a prize a couple of weeks back. Great story and art. Thank you. You are totally welcome. And by the way, there was the other one. I can't remember who the last one that won was. Never sent me their address. So I have the box ready to go. Just need their address.
Oh, in the chat, they're saying they didn't care about getting it, I think. The guy that won. Yeah. So just send it to the next guy, I guess.
I'll send it to someone else. Maybe we'll have another winner today. Maybe we'll do another winner today for something.
There you
go. True Believer, OSG in the house. Max can catch viruses.
I can attest to that.
I guess they can.
I can attest to that. I've gotten the virus on my Mac like 3 days after I got it. And I was like, how do I end up being this stupid? It's because I was walking stuff illegally online.
Oh, okay.
And I clicked on an ad that said, Flash update. And I was like, I guess I need that. Which makes no sense because I just bought the Mac. Why would I already need...
Yeah,
but I was like, I'll get that.
Danger.
I want to know where True Believer OSG got that profile picture. Looks exactly like my brother.
Maybe it is your brother. Maybe it's your brother in secret.
Could be me if I had my goatee
right. Yeah.
Shape my beard.
All it takes is one. Wow. I did one small show last year. Made $500 in 2 days selling art and books.
They are.
Have never made that much at the big shows. No.
Nope.
Big shows, I lose money, man. I lose money.
Those small shows can be amazing. Yeah.
This is really early for Vaughn to be up.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it is. I need to stop being a lazy shithead.
You on the West Coast, Vaughn? Are you on the West Coast?
No.
No? Okay.
No, then I'd have an excuse. I'd have a valid excuse.
That's what I was thinking.
She's just young.
I could say that, but no, I'm not. No, I'm on East Coast. I'm New Jersey. I'm from New Jersey.
Jersey's a Jersey boy.
Oh yeah.
There you go. Colonel Panic, not good. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not good. Yeah, so we're hopefully we'll get a replacement here soon. So it's outside of its coverage in 2019. It lasted till the coverage ended last year. You notice that? That's funny.
Sounds like my car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lasted for 4 years.
Covered that warranty and one thing after the next. Yeah.
Sounds like Cyberpunk Track CPU Panic. Yeah, it does. Yeah, that sounds like something like you'd hear Cyberpunk do. Welcome, Ken B's in the house. Welcome. What it do, homies and homiettes?
Jesus.
Benjamin Soto in the house. Morning, I smell bacon. Yeah. It reminds me of the Wayne's World bit with the cops, the bacon. Oink, oink. There we go. Genuine says, I got invited to a convention this year, and they charge 400 euros for a table. I had to respectfully decline. 400 euros. Someone was trying to invite me to another con, and I said, I'm not going to do cons that my friends don't run unless I'm being asked as a guest.
Yeah.
Because the table fees are just too expensive for me to travel and make my money back on shows that don't really promote comics anymore. Right? So it's collectibles and it's cosplay and it's voice actors. And I can't afford to, if you want comic representation there, you're going to have to hook a brother up.
That's why I like the Great Lakes Cons. They had a lot of comic book people in there. That was nice to see.
Yeah. There's a big divide between comic book centric shows and not. Now, that being said, sometimes if it's big enough, there's bleed over. Like if you do a smaller show, you'll typically, the comic book people will be a bigger thing.
Yep. Headless says that Hunter Ninja Bear was even better than I had expected.
Dude, it was so cool. I remember when I first, so my friend and I got that job in a way through film because, sorry, I don't know if I should go into that. I know you're going through.
Go ahead.
So my friend and I went to a summer filmmaking program at the USC. It was a beginning filmmaking program. It was 6 weeks in the summer while I was in high school. One of my closest friends there, we were hanging out, and then I was at his house once. We're still very close friends. Although I haven't talked to him in a minute. He's actually my fellow editor. If you look at it, it's Hunter Fenoglio. So it's Fenoglio brothers were the ones that founded Phenom Comics, came up with Hunter Ninja Bear. Anyway, at one point I'm talking to him about comics on the phone. And I'm like, hey man, I know I did film, but I'm actually considering doing comics. He goes, oh, my dad's starting a comic company. I'm like, why has this never been mentioned? You know how much of a nerd I am? I constantly talk about comics. And I go, is there, any way I could get my way in there, get involved, whatever? He goes, all right, we'll think about it. And then his dad ends up giving me a call, Tom Fenoglio, and we're talking about comics, and I go, yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, like, I hear one of my favorite writers, for example, Chuck Dixon, just does indie now. He goes, oh, yeah, you're going to be working on Chuck's book. Like, of all the people I mentioned, he just casually goes, yeah, Chuck, yeah, you're working on, he's writing the book you're working on. I'm like what? So I found myself reading it. And the thing is, I knew nothing about Hunter there. I just kind of got thrown in. And it was mostly colored, mostly fully lettered. And I would give feedback. What would happen is I'd have it open on my laptop, the digital files. I'd take physical notes. And then we'd talk for a bit. And every once in a while I'd get stuff back. And it was really cool seeing stuff I implemented. There were a few scenes I came up with. It was such a great project to work on.
So you did true editing, not copy edit.
Yeah.
I always love it when you ask, hey, did you have an editor? Yeah, I had an editor. No, you had a copy editor.
It's not the same.
So two different things, my friend. They're not quite the same.
Copy editor is just they just correct grammar and stuff, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, you need someone to, and this is why with my comic, I mean, having an editor was important, but not just that wasn't enough. I send it to other creators all the time, friends, people all the time to get feedback, and I've been doing it from every stage. I've rewritten the script so many times. People need to do that.
You have to. You really need to, because there's so many good things that could be left on the table when you work in a vacuum. That's the best part about, the old school way of doing things when there was a bullpen and you would go there and you're working with artists and writers and editors and people are standing over your shoulder and you're talking and people are getting instantaneous feedback on stuff. You learn so much and you grow so much. And unfortunately, we just don't have that in this kind of environment anymore.
It's sad. That's why I wanted to make sure that my creative team, all of them were, if they could talk on the phone, or at least were willing to.
Yeah,
that was a good sign to me. It was a good sign that, like, obviously being professional is good, but making sure that I could actually have conversations about the story and what I'm going for, and yeah.
We got Grey Wolf Graphics in the house. Welcome, hiya, chat. Good to see you. Pedro is not able to be with us today. He's running errands, but he is in the chat. We got Well Read with us as well. Welcome. Good morning. This morning, yo. Let me see who else do we have going on here, and then we'll kind of read through the chats. We got Cray TV in the house as well. Welcome. Good to see you this morning. Nicholas Anthony Tuckert is in the house. Put on a great show the other day. Madness Comic Book Network. There's Pop Van Zant. And then I think that catches up who all is in there. Oh, there's a Glenn Fleming sighting. Welcome, Glenn. All right. And then we'll go back through and make sure we didn't miss anything good here.
Sorry.
So talking about joking about Trump and Biden, see, if you displayed that sense of humor to a mainstream creator, they'd block you and call you a bigot.
Yep.
I've been called so many bad things. I'm starting to believe it.
Oh, gaslighting is a big thing. Yeah, I've noticed with the.
Someone made Banana Splits a horror movie. I can see that. That works for me. Fraggle Rock. Someone's calling Fraggle Rock. And here comes Pedro with his South American heritage. Lance Link Secret Chimp.
Lancelot Link. Yes, sir.
Oh, Lancelot Link. Okay.
Lancelot Link Secret Chimp.
You guys are old.
Just classic stuff.
Pedro's only a few years older than I am. And I'm like, you're so old.
That was a Saturday morning cartoon show, live action, all with monkeys.
Wow, I'm looking this up.
It was amazing.
College today. You learn something new every day.
Welcome, Agent Zero.
Great opening, too. Great opening song.
Well Read wants you to stop watching the prawn, Vaughn. It's not healthy. That's how you got that virus, isn't it?
It wasn't actually. I was watching. What the hell was I watching? You know what it was? I remember I was watching, which is actually one of my inspirations. I believe it was Young Justice, that show, Illegally Online, and I remember that because, again, even though I was clearly able to watch this show, because I think back on it, I still was like, yeah, but I need a Flash update, and I clicked on that.
Streaming on Max. It's the best superhero cartoon, probably outside of Batman, the animated series.
Yeah, and then it fell off. And fell off in season 3. I lost interest, man. And
you got to keep watching it. There's a reason to keep watching it.
But season 4, like, it felt like the biggest. I'm gonna be honest, the biggest like woke slap in the face.
Yeah, some of the stories get a little weak, but I love the way that they ended it because they went, "Hey, remember this all the way back at the first season? We've been doing this on purpose all the way through, and it's pretty hot."
Okay, because I loved Spectacular Spider-Man. I need to see Gargoyles still, but like Greg Weisman's writing has had a very big influence on me.
Yeah.
You haven't seen Gargoyles?
Classic stuff.
Classic.
But yeah, Young Justice was a huge inspiration for me doing this comic book. And when I did coming of age characters, I mean, going back and reading this Stan Lee, Steve Ditko Spider-Man stuff was great. The way they were able to and Romita too. I need to finish that. I have runs I need to finish. 2 runs actually I have them back to back, kind of on my shelf that I need to finish are New Teen Titans and Spider-Man. But I think I decided, because I haven't touched those in a couple years, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna finish Claremont's X-Men run fully. But the thing is, his run includes all of when I say his run, I've included. So I finished his Excalibur. New, like all the adjacent books. I made it this far to New Mutants. I'm at 92, so even if he's not writing, it's like I might as well
just go finish. For it, man.
Yeah, I'm at I'm getting to. I read Magic War Nights for the first time. That was exciting. That was a really fun.
So you mentioned Romita. I had the craziest stream last night.
Oh yeah.
That I was going through some of my original art pages that I've collected from people over the years. And I had an original Romita Spider-Man page.
Which page?
I can't remember. It was a
but
it was sick. And I was like, I about had a coronary. I was like, oh, what's going on? Yeah, I freaked out. And it felt so real that when I woke up, I was like, maybe I should go look and see if I'm like, no, there's absolutely no way that ever happened because I don't collect.
I bumped into a there last year, and sorry if this is off topic. He had a page of Jack Kirby from the bicentennial issue that he did. All these different versions of Captain America all throughout time. And the one version he's got, he thought was inked unusually. And then he looked it up, and it was inked by Romita. And it's like the only piece of Kirby that they know of that was inked by Romita.
That's so cool. What is this again?
Amazing. It's in the Captain America Bicentennial Special. It was a treasury size edition that Kirby did. And he did all these different versions of Captain America through time.
Russ says, I won't do a show without an invite and complimentary table. Yep. It's not arrogant. It's just economical. Yep. And I'm in the same boat with you, man. And it's not.
I tell everybody I'm a vampire. I go where I'm invited. That's the way to work.
Dell or Gold Key did a comic book of Lancelot Link.
Oh, did they? That must have been a heck of a job to do. Yeah. Draw all these monkeys.
I finally finished the Dahmer show that they did last night. It was pretty good, actually. It was. I think all the actors. Yeah, all the actors did a very good job. They talked a lot about that comic book.
Yeah, it's the one that Hart Fisher's suing them because they never asked him permission.
Yeah, they talked a lot about Hart's book in there.
Yeah,
and they're like, comic books are what's wrong with the world. And I was like, oh, that old gem. I love that one.
There's a lot of hate for that book. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I love that old gem.
At least it's not video games.
They did a Hart Fisher did a Dahmer versus
Dahmer meets Jesus, I think it was.
Dahmer versus Jesus.
Jeffrey
what?
Dahmer.
They were boxing,
Jesus.
yeah.
You're so young. You're so young. You got so much to learn.
Yeah, I do.
Great stuff. There's so much great stuff out there. You'll be learning the rest of your life.
Oh, I've been learning, and a lot of that includes messing up, which is good because
Yeah. You
gotta make so much growth in screw ups.
And sometimes you got to read the real crappy stuff to realize where the really good stuff is.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even with Hunter Ninja Bear, I remember like applying things that I had learned from the Star Wars prequels sequels for how not to write a protagonist into notes. And I'd be like, oh, this is how an actual writer writes. But like I'd be like, or even when I'm writing my own stuff, my own character, my own hero's journey, I'd analyze why does Luke work and not Rey? They start at the same planet. What's the difference? And contrary to belief, there are actual reasons. It's not just one's a woman. We don't like her. There's
actual diverge. Yeah, they diverge from the line.
Yep.
That made Luke great. But what was funny was they were setting up Finn to have that same hero's journey as Luke, only starting from a different position, and then they
blew it.
They blew it.
You didn't like him going through the exact same arc 3 movies in a row?
Right, yeah.
What are we going
to do with Finn?
I don't know my place. Oh, I should be in the Resistance. I don't know my place. Oh, I should be in the Resistance. It's every time. It's just the same arc.
Lucas had his own classical understanding of storytelling, though. He used classical archetypes. He understood how to write characters, how the hero's journey worked, how the whole process worked, how to develop and touch humans, their emotions, and all of that.
Glad you clarified their emotions, how to touch humans.
How to touch humans through their emotions.
How to touch humans.
That's what she said.
But he was a genius, and he was well read enough to understand all those influences and put them into his stuff. But Rey as a character was completely void of the classical stuff.
Yep. Welcome, Mr. Punch, joining us from Vaughn's channel. Good to have you here this morning. Broken Vacuum 2024, finally a candidate that doesn't suck. I agree.
That's actually really good.
Kirby with BWS inks looks really cool.
Yeah.
I was kind of curious. Mr. Punch's avatar there, or picture. Vaughn, do you know who that is?
Hold on, let me see that again.
Where's Mr. Punch?
Oh, is that Mr. Oh, Mr. Punch the name? I don't know. So,
It's one of the puppets from Mr. Dress Up.
I thought it was Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Mr. Rogers, sorry.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah, Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, yeah. It might be one of those puppets. There's a lot of puppets that looked alike back then.
Yeah.
J-Bot, welcome J-Bot into the house. Good to have you here. Finn was awesome at yelling "Ray" and had zero game with the ladies. Now, the lady they had playing Rose Teague, she's very beautiful, right? Mm-hmm. You actually have to work hard to not make her attractive, and they did. Okay, if they would have just made her attractive, and go ahead and ship her and Finn, like make that a thing, because she was starstruck by the guy, right? And I'm telling you what, it does not. I don't buy it. I have never met I've got a lot of black friends over the years, and I've not met a single one of them that likes a bony, skinny white girl. They like a girl with some curves.
Everybody's got their taste. It doesn't matter what.
They like a girl with some curves.
Well, did he even like Ray? No one had any chemistry. What was going on? Like, they seemed to have some kind of chemistry in the first movie, kind of.
He seemed to like her, and then I thought maybe it's just like a gay best friend. I don't know. And then there was the thing where Ray and Darth Tantrum were kind of a thing, and it was like weird. It was like, this sucks. Like
The whole thing was terrible.
They just messed up from the get-go. But the thing is, you don't know if something's good unless you see something bad. Guys, let's jump into some news, shall we?
Sure.
Let's see what we got going on in the news today.
The whole movie was like a emo album, some kind of My Chemical Romance cover.
An emo album.
Oh, the second one?
So sad.
It's terrible.
It was so sad to see that. This is sad too. Rest in peace, Ramona Fradon.
Fradon. Yep. Some people have called it Fradon, but I always thought it was Fradon. I could be wrong.
Call it Fradon.
Fradon. Artist Ramona Fradon died on February 2nd, 2024 at the age of 97, just a few weeks after formally retiring from comics. Fradon was born Ramona Dom on October 2nd, my birthday, 1926. She was born in Chicago, but her family moved to the Westchester County suburbs in New York City when she was 5 years old. Fradon's father, Peter Dom, was a commercial letterer who designed two fonts, Dom Casual and Dom Bold.
Sweet.
I had no idea. That's amazing. Good for him. As well as logos for well-known brands such as Elizabeth Arden, Lord & Taylor, and Camel. As a child, Fradon loved reading Johnny Gruelle's Raggedy Ann books, as well as newspaper comics, including Bring Up Father, The Phantom, Alley Oop, and Flash Gordon. All classics, by the way.
Classics.
Mona was a very talented individual.
Incredibly, yeah. We looked through her art book a couple of weeks ago on Sunday Funnies. It was really, really good. I quote, "I guess the reason I became an artist was because I married one," Fradon told Howard Chaykin in an interview published in the 2014 Dynamite Entertainment book, The Art of Ramona Fradon. That's the book that we looked through. She initially went to art school as a fashion illustrator following her father's wishes. After a year at the Parsons School of Design, she decided fashion was not for her and moved to the Art Students League in order to focus on figure drawing. There, she met Dana Fradon, a cartoonist whose work was already being published in The New Yorker, and they were married in 1948. Money was also a motivation for going into comics. Fradon freely admitted she had friends in the business and once suggested she give it a try. She and Dana collaborated on a comic of their own, never published, so she could learn the basics of paneling and pacing. And she studied other comics as well. When she felt she was ready, she submitted some pages to Fox Features. They assigned her a 12-page story, but she told Chaykin, "Someone told me they didn't pay, so I returned the script. I was actually kind of relieved because I was so intimidated by the assignment." Then she went to Timely Comics, later Marvel Comics, where she was assigned a few war stories. She struggled to draw them
And in the end, she said, I spilled ink on one of the pages and was terminated. Don's fortunes changed for the better when she went to DC Comics, where editor Murray Boltinoff hired her to draw Shining Knight, the 6-page story in Adventure Comics. This suited her much more, and she became a regular artist for that title, working with editor George Cashton as the artist for Aquaman, which in the 50s was a regular feature in Adventure Comics. I drew very slowly, she told Chaykin, and a 17-page story was about all I could handle in a month back in those days. Nonetheless, throughout the 50s, she drew an Aquaman story almost every month and occasionally did war and crime stories as well. In '64, Kasdan told Friedan that he had an idea for a new character, Metamorpho, who would change himself into different elements. Friedan helped design the character, dispensing with the usual capes and hoods. It finally occurred to us that since his body had to transform itself into different elements, clothes would get in his way, and maybe he shouldn't have any. So he wore shorts and a belt. She enjoyed working on the comic because it allowed her to stretch in a more cartoony direction. But she left after 4 issues, stepping away from comics from '64 to '77 to focus on raising her daughter. When she returned, comics had changed. Roy Thomas hired her to draw the Cat for Marvel Comics, but when she went to the office and found it a sharp contrast to the staid suit and tie atmosphere she was accustomed to at DC. It was so chaotic, she told Chaykin. There were cubicles, not offices, like at DC. They were filled with coffee cups and bottles and papers spilling onto the floor. And Roy Thomas was in a black turtleneck with his hair down to his shoulders. Everybody looked like a hippie. She was also startled when she was handed not a script, but a paragraph describing the story. Without dialogue or a clear idea of the characters or their motivations, Friedan was lost. The so-called Marvel method didn't work for her. The story was killed, but even when she got a full script for a Fantastic Four story, Friedan wasn't happy at Marvel. Back at DC, Friedan started working with editor Joe Orlando, doing stories for House of Secrets and House of Mystery, as well as one for DC's humor magazine, Plop. When Orlando moved her to Plastic Man, which she enjoyed drawing, and Freedom Fighters, which she loathed. When Plastic Man was canceled, she started drawing Super Friends, staying for 4 years. And she also did the art for a boxed set of children's books, The Story of Superman. For much of her comics career, Friedan worked at her home in Connecticut, coming to the office only to drop off her artwork and collect a new assignment. When she didn't socialize with the editors or the creators. In '99, Conversation with artist Marie Severance, reprinted in Comic Book Women, University of Texas Press 2022, she spoke of one DC staffer who would come up behind her and kiss her on the back of the neck. And when she came to drop off pages, I always had this feeling that I went to the bullpen, there would be some kind of disaster, she said. Severin countered that the EC staff she worked with were all gentlemen. Friedan did have a good relationship with Boltinoff, she did have a good relationship with Boltinoff. Wow, what lousy editing. Had a good relationship. I think he was only interested in the artwork, she told Chaykin. Murray shared an office with Jack Schiff, Mort Weismunger, and George Cashton, and I recall that they all went silent when he first brought me in. But other than that, they all seemed to accept me. In 1980, Friedan left comic books for comic strips, becoming the artist for Brenda Starr Reporter. Although she had the job for 15 years, she described it as a treadmill, telling Chaykin that she moved because of the higher pay rate, which in retrospect was a mistake, as page rates for comic book artists went up shortly after she left. If I had stayed in comics another year, I would have made 3 times as much, she said. Instead, she spent years struggling with the syndicate to get paid and what she was owed, while grinding out 6 daily strips and a Sunday strip every week. Friedan also began attending New York University in 1977, where she studied psychology and ancient religions. Because she was working full-time, it took her 11 years to get her degree. She and Dom were divorced in 1982.
In 1995, Fradon retired from Brenda Star reporter, though she continued to do commissions and occasionally other work as well, including 2 SpongeBob comics issues that featured Mermaid Man, a homage to Aquaman, and a Simpsons comic issue that had a character named Muffalato, the ailment man. An issue that had a spoof of Metamorpho. She wrote a book, The Gnostic Faustus, The Secret Teachings Behind the Classic Text. And she wrote and illustrated the children's book, The Dinosaur That Got Tired of Being Extinct. And she continued to appear at conventions and draw commissions, officially retiring only in January of 2024 via an announcement by her dealer, Catskill Comics. Fradon's art was widely admired by her peers, and she was inducted into the Eisner Awards Hall of Fame in 2006. Yep. What a
she
great
retired of January of this year.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't know if I didn't know she co-created Metamorpho. I had never heard of her, but that's...
Wow. A lot of people haven't. Yeah.
I'm going to have to look into her. It sounds like an amazing career.
The art
Amazing
is
artist.
Actually...
yeah, I only met her once, but I was able to get a Plastic Man sketch from her.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. What a great person, though. Just a nice person. Really talented, too. What a unique style. Speaking of unique style.
Very unique. Here we go. This is one of the first ones that popped up today on ICV2. They don't normally post a whole lot of articles like this. So let's see how this one goes, shall we? More hate from Peter Beige. Is it Beige or Bag?
Baggy.
Baggy?
I always pronounced it Baggy, but I could be wrong.
It'll be Baggy today. Buddy Bradley returns in 4-issue series from Fantagraphics. Peter Baggy is returning to his alternative comic, Hate, with a new 4-issue series, Hate Revisited, from Fantagraphic Comics. The series will continue the story of slacker Buddy Bradley and will take place in 2 time periods, the 1990s and the present, as Buddy reconciles himself to his friend's Stinky's suicide and wraps up other threads of the long-running story. The first issue, a 24-page full-color comic, will be released on June 6th of 2024 with an MSRP of $4.99. Hate was first published by Fantagraphics in 1990, and the initial run was 30 issues. In 2000, Baggy launched the Hate Annual, a yearly publication that included short Hate comics along with other material. Fantagraphics' collection, The Complete Hate, won the 2021 Eisner Award for Best Archival Collection / Project comic books. While it was suggested to me that I revisit the old Hate cast, once I got started on it, I was more than happy with the results, Baggy said in a statement accompanying the announcement. This stuff writes itself. I'm also glad I decided to split it between the present day as well as flashbacks to the 80s and 90s. This was especially true with Stinky. I forgot what a loose cannon that character was. Since moving on from the original Hate, Baggy has worked on a number of different projects, including a contribution to the Z2 anthology, The Illustrated AI, The Illustrated Al, The Song of Weird Al.
That's got to be great.
Yeah, that's got to be great.
Yeah.
The dark satire Other Lives, and graphic biographies of Margaret Sanger, Rose Wilder, and Zora Neale Hurston. So, guys, if you like Hate, it's coming back to comics. Like Hate Ever Left Comics.
Never heard of it. Or I think I might have heard of it once.
More stuff. More great classic stuff for you to absorb there.
Yeah. Check that one out for sure.
Is it like political or something?
Yeah, that's what it looked very.
It's really more slice of life.
Yeah, slice of life
material
satire.
only.
Because it looks
with
like
a wild cartoony style to it. Yeah.
Because that looked very political, possibly partisan. What I was just looking at. So
Back on Ramona Fradon's Dr. Mask's Retro Elixir says strips was a tough gig. No downtime at all. But way back when, strips used to pay incredibly well when the syndicates were actually on the ball, and there were a lot of newspapers that were desperate for that stuff. He says, I actually read my first Peter Baggy comics a few months ago. Not my thing, but I can see that some people would like it. Yeah.
He's unique. He's unique.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's your thing. Check it out. You might like it. You might not. You might hate it. Either way, you can tweet about it or you can let it be. I don't care. Do what you want.
We can do what we want.
Do what
all sorts of comics for all sorts of people. That's my motto.
Yeah, do what you want.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, the Eisner Hall of Fame. Let's talk about this. Gary Groth, Ron Turner, James Warren, named to Eisner Hall of Fame. You want to read this one for me, Randy?
I might have to go, but I will.
Okay.
I will read that as much as I can.
Okay.
The Eisner Hall of Fame judges have announced 19 members of the comics industry who will be automatically inducted into the Eisner Awards Hall of Fame this year. The list includes A.B. Frost from 1851 to 1928, whose work influenced many early comic artists. Flemish woodcut artist Franz Masriel, who created wordless graphic novels. K.J. Nakazawa, creator of Barefoot Gen, an incredible work, the first manga to be published in English. And Ron Turner, founder of Last Gasp, which published not only Barefoot Gen, but also a number of seminal underground comics, including Binky Brown Meets the Holy Virgin Mary, Air Pirates, and women's comics. I do have to go.
Women's, okay.
So
women's
take over
comics.
from here. I'll be right back.
So let me ask, if you could if you had a Hall of Fame, let's say if we had the Von Coleman's Hall of Fame, who would be in it?
What do you mean? My Hall of Fame in terms of, when I say Hall of Fame, are we talking in terms of my favorites or in terms of who I think? I was wondering because Hall of Fame, I just wanted to make sure I understood the two. All right, so my favorite in terms of comics. So you're basically just asking me to rattle off my favorites.
Yeah, who are like the if you were going to pick three that were going to be automatically inducted, let's say instead of the Will Eisner Awards, right, it was the Von Coleman Awards. And instead of the Will Eisner Hall of Fame, it was the Von Coleman Hall of Fame. Who do you think three of them that should automatically be inducted? Without question, without debate, these three must go in.
Because now I'm trying to think as like the technical answer and my favorites. Are we doing just writers or writers and artists?
Whatever you want. Do what you want.
Man, that's a tough...
It's your awards. It's your thing. You're in charge here.
Let's say I can only do three.
The bacon is yours to sizzle.
This is tough, man. There's so many great creators. All right. I'm gonna skip some of the Chris Claremont.
Okay. I don't know if you can read the comment on the screen, Vaughn.
Everyone says Will Eisner was a great comic creator. Did he even win an Eisner Award? Just
he was the first one inducted into the Eisner Hall of Fame, though. So.
Well, I should hope so, for crying out loud.
Who else am I gonna put on there?
So we got Claremont.
Good
choice.
Trying to think because I have other ones, but I don't want to be too basic.
Yeah, don't be some basic B. Come on.
Everybody's got their own Mount Rushmore, but it changes almost, every time you read something else that's great.
Well, I mean, mine is pretty consistent, but some of the answers again are so obvious. You know what? I'm gonna listen. Artists are special, but I'm gonna keep it to writers for a bit. Marv Wolfman.
Oh, okay.
Love that guy.
Good one. All right.
He's one of the. I've gotten the chance to meet most of my favorite writers. He's one of the ones I haven't met yet, but I intend to.
And not a common choice.
Really?
Not one that you would normally hear. Like
that's
best
shocking.
writers, people like, oh well, I like,
No, I don't know.
Wolfman's run with Perez on the first, 50 or so Teen Titans is just classic.
Yeah, they've had an influence on me. I need to read that run. Crisis, of course. Wolfman and Perez. I mean, their stuff's amazing.
Yeah, Frazetta Adams. Yeah.
And you know what? For the third, I'll go with. I'm gonna go with Jeff Johns.
Okay.
Those are I'm gonna. Yeah, I mean Jeff Johns. I mean, I got to meet him too. He's great. Yeah, I mean, there's so many. I would say my Mount Rushmore, although my top, I kind of have narrowed it down to like a top 6 favorite writers or Claremont. Frank Miller was too obvious, is why I didn't pick him. Same with Jim Lee. Jim Lee is like my favorite artist, but it's like, okay, wow, Vaughn picked Jim Lee. What a surprise! Although Claremont, to be fair, is a pretty basic choice, but oh my God,
why are the Dr. Mask sprang in a Aparo? Good choice.
Oh, those are great picks. I mean, again, there's so many. Like, one of my favorites, because I'm trying to pick people that I think are like unconventional. Like, so Bob McLeod is one that I actually got to interview him recently. Bob McLeod's one of the more underrated, I think. He's great. I'd probably put him on there if I could, but again, I had limited spots. But my favorite writers are probably Chris Claremont, Frank Miller, Marv Wolfman, Jeff Johns, Jeff Loeb, Chuck Dixon are probably my top 6. If I were to think about writers.
Leach. What?
I'm liking that one. Kirby, Fleming, unbiased. Leach, Zimmerman, Stone, unbiased.
Now my face will be red the rest of the day.
Glenn's looking for a tip. He's looking for. I love that guy. I'm telling you, yeah, it's a tough pick, isn't it? There's so many good ones. And what really, like, I think burns my toast or burns my bacon, if I will.
Burns your bacon.
Is when someone wins an Eisner that clearly is not at the caliber of some of the people working right now. Like, I don't know if you guys have read Ultimate Spider-Man right now. The new one.
No.
It is some of the best work in comics that I have ever seen. So it is written by Jonathan Hickman and Marco, and I'm going to say this name wrong.
There you go.
Checchetto.
No idea.
Checchetto. Checchetto, I think. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. But some of the best work. Oh my gosh. And it's so well written. This is what I've not been this excited about a corporate comic since I was 20 years old.
What comic is this?
Ultimate Spider-Man 2024. Number 1.
Wow. Okay, so bringing that back. All right.
Number 1 is in its 4th printing.
Wow.
Yeah, it is run through 4 printings because everyone loves this book. Everybody wants to get it. I've only been able to read it digitally. Oh my gosh. So well done. It brings Peter Parker back to the Peter Parker that we left in the 90s. Married to MJ, but he doesn't have his powers at this point, right? So it's about an alternate universe where the evil Reed Richards, the maker, goes back and he goes back in time and keeps Peter Parker from getting bitten, right? And I mean, there's just it is, but at the end of it, Tony Stark, oh man, it just get it, read it, it's good. You'll get excited about it. It's but you see people like this writing stuff, and and then you'll see people get awarded that are just producing garbage, and it's pretty sad, but
it's unfortunate that the awards show like the Eisners have turned into a popularity contest over top of awarding for merit.
Well, That's happened with, I feel like, every award show.
It has, and it's a shame too, because it's the merit ones that need to be brought forward and shown, showcased for being that good.
Well, this summer there are going to be the Luke Stone's Best Someone Awards, or the BS Awards, as I like to call them.
BS Awards.
This is if we were talking great. I did a review of this on my channel, so I got to read the original Magic 4 Nights and then this in one day. the first time. So it's funny because I was laughing. I was like, you guys had to wait like what, almost 30 years? I waited like an hour to read the follow-up to Magicor Knights.
Right, yeah. We had to wait forever.
Yeah, I just kind of was I read
what do you
it.
think?
And then, it's so good. It
have
reads
you heard?
like it picked up right from the 90s. Like, because having read them both back to back, it's like Claremont hasn't missed a beat.
All right, so what do you think of the what do you think? Have you read it yet? The Black Widow, written by the Sosa sisters.
I haven't yet. I heard that was one of the better ones. And
so I mean, it's a mixed bag. I mean, and I think people will give a review based on their affiliations and ideological views of things, rather than based on the writing.
So always judge the work, not the person.
Right. But I mean, I think that goes for both ways. Some people, I'm afraid that some people are given a really positive review where maybe it's not merited, or they're given a negative review if it's not merited. I'm not sure. So I think I'm gonna have to pick it up and read it myself, and just so that I can know. But while we're talking about things being, look at this. Diamond announces flat freight. Lunar accepts affidavits. Penguin Random House upgrades, and Boom Freight subsidy.
Boom.
This is so they're doing this new thing. It's Comics Pro section of the website.
Roundup. You want me to read it?
Starting in April 2024.
I guess not.
Diamond will charge. You go ahead. You go read it. I see my voice.
Starting in April 2024, Diamond will charge a flat rate of 3% of retail cost for standard shipping, and the freight charge will appear on the same invoice as the products being shipped. The changes were announced by Jeppy Family Enterprises Chief Sales and Service Officer Chris Powell during Diamond's presentation at the Comics Pro 2024 Comics Industry Conference. I don't know if that's going to be a higher rate or a lower rate at this point.
I'm not sure.
Diamond had already cut freight costs by 40% in 2023 after negotiating a new deal with UPS. Competition. Diamond addresses competitive issues. The new flat freight program applies to all categories with the exception of some bulky or oversized items. Higher shipping costs will be indicated on the solicitation for those products. Boom Studios will continue its freight eBay.
Let's go back to this for a second.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. So, I guess, does that seem, you used to be a retailer. Does that seem like a good deal?
It probably is, especially if they've cut their freight costs by 40% in last year. You know, it's I'm not sure what 3%, what's every comic they're going to be doing would be 15 cents?
Right. Yeah.
Oof. If an average comic's $5.
Headless says it's almost like a monopoly on distribution was a bad thing.
Almost.
Yeah, it's getting very competitive out there. In fact, I'm seeing more and more small publishers join the ranks.
Yeah.
And popping in there. There's more and more in the previews. Yep. They've completely cut out minimums. I don't know how long ago they did that.
And that is quite miraculous when it comes to Diamond.
Yeah, there are no minimums.
That was one of the things that threw Arrow out of the direct market. As Diamond kept telling us what book we could and couldn't print. By whether or not they were going to bother to distribute it.
Well, they don't do that now. So even if you sell like 5 copies, as long as you can provide the books, they will distribute those books.
And that's what always threw me, is because they were making money off of each unit that went, and yet they were telling us that if we got orders under 1,200, they weren't going to take the book.
It's not the case anymore.
Well, I had gone through and done the math and figured out that Diamond was making more money off of me than I was. So that's one of the reasons why I got out of the direct market in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Yeah. Yes.
Do you have any hopes of getting your book in the Fabled previews?
Dude, I mean, here's the thing. I would love to. And the more the more I talk to people, and it's like, understand, because I was always like, why don't we get into the direct market more and more? And the more I learn, it's like the cut that they take. Here's the thing: you want exposure, right? You really want it.
Yeah.
But eventually, I'd love to have my stuff be on shelves, even for a pay cut, because I think in the long run, I think the problem with the comic book industry, they became way too short-sighted. They became very much in like the everything needs to become a collector's item, and we started catering to a limited audience instead of expanding our audience. And the fact of the matter is, comic book fans, it's decreasing, right? It really is.
When a retailer's fighting to cover his rent and his electric bill, let alone pay any employees, it's got to be an instant turnaround. Mm-hmm. And something that we learned back in the late 90s is that very rarely does any independent or alternative comic get bought by the retailers to be put on a shelf. Most everything that they order is a direct from the box to the bag transfer, instant money for the retailer as soon as that customer comes in, because they've already pre-ordered that book 3 months in advance. Because when we first started, when we returned with Arrow Comics, we were printing what I thought were really recognized titles. Alice, we were doing Wonderland, Oz, War of the Worlds, real basic stuff that any retailer would know the genre that it fit in, and we were hardly moving anything.
That's nuts, man. It's so nuts.
We found out that the reason for that is we were a pulls only company in their mind. That all of their books, as soon as it come out of the box, it went into a customer's bag or box, and that's as far as it went.
Stick it on the shelf.
Yep, never hit the shelf.
Now, I'm learning that the average pre-order through for a small publisher is between 500 and 1,000 units.
Yeah. Okay.
That's about average.
Yeah.
But it also requires that those publishers have a solid business marketing plan, a solid marketing plan.
Well, you've got to be seen, because that green section's like literally back of the bus, and it's easy to be missed. Yep.
And by the way, guys, today's segment on distribution brought to you by Arrow Comics.
Holy shit. That is the craziest thing I have ever seen. And I'm Dennis Quaid, and Dennis Quaid has seen some shit.
That's great, man. Yeah, I think like I'd love to get my comics in stores. That's another thing, is realizing price. I wanted to keep the price of my comic down, and I was always like, oh yeah, I'll just sell a bunch of copies for a cheap price. And it's like, okay, buddy, easier said than done. Who am I to the average person? Listen, I think I'm a genius. You know, right. Everyone else looks at me. Do you know how many people have said this? Tried the same. I'm starting my own superhero universe. Okay, I'm like the 12th one this year, probably, and it's February.
Well, you're the 12th one that you know of this year. It's February. Yeah. There are so many. You know, I have my own superhero universe. I've been working on for almost a decade now.
Oh, me too. Well, mine I've been working on for a while. But listen, no, when I was in second grade, I certainly was not in a position where I had good ideas mixed with a lot of bad ones. But things had to change, and I had to improve. But it's people. I'm realizing why people charge what they charge for comics, and I'm hoping to eventually get the number down. But I'm making sure that if I do it, that it's worth what the price I'm offering. Right, but listen, that's part of why I wanted a giant size first issue, because I do intend on doing smaller issues later. Right? I think having a 20-something page issue is nice, especially when it's right before bed. Because one of the things I love crowdfunded books. Don't get me wrong, but when you're about to go to bed, a 64-page book often isn't the commitment.
It's a little bit much.
So I'm doing that for my first issue. Part of it is because if you're committing to trying a new idea, I want to give you something to really bite, right?
Yeah.
And I've written 11 issues, but then I condensed them down to 8 because I made the first issue triple size because I realized there was a certain point I wanted my main character's origin story. So the main character is Galvanite, right? It's a superhero name. Which, fun fact, was at one point, it's gone through multiple names, but Lord Lightning was one of them. And then I said it on air, and then Rini and all of them literally laughed at me on air.
Well, Lord Lightning is pretty goofy.
So I was like, all right, I got to change that. So let the record show I can take criticism.
Right, okay. So are you saying that you're going to have a fully realized origin in your first book?
Correct.
Okay. So people are going to know who the character is his motivation, and at least a basic knowledge of his power set.
Correct.
Okay.
Which I think is pretty standard, but he will not have his full costume as well. Actually, initially, he wasn't even going to have a superhero name revealed in issue 1. I decided to change that. But he wasn't originally. He wasn't going to. It was something he hadn't earned yet, and I changed it. But he's going to have a makeshift costume. Because, like, in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie, he has just, like, the crappy costume to start with. I like that. I decided to have he has a makeshift costume in issue 1, and eventually I want him to earn the right to have a really professional superhero costume.
Nice. So I want to welcome a couple people from your channel that are over here. Welcome LECG for my PP. Working and lurking. That screen name is great. Again, we still have Mr. Punch here. How many watching? We've got about 22 total from all the platforms right now watching. Be sure to share it out. Let people know. Then we've got Stippling Vaughn. Lurk and work here also. Welcome to the show. B.A. Turner joined us. Welcome. Glenn says, my superhero team universe comprises of me, Russ, Randy, and Luke. Unbiased.
There you go.
I do like the idea that things are getting a little more competitive. And so check out what Boom's doing. Boom Studios will continue its freight rebate program, offering 2% off on all orders of Boom products, which, as Philip Sablik, president of publishing and marketing, pointed out, brings freight costs down to 1% of retail for Boom products.
Good for them.
That's a positive.
Way to go.
Beyond a golf clap. Good on them. Yeah.
We are in such an age of expense.
Yep.
Printers raise their prices, they never lower them. Gas prices go up, they never lower them. Shipping costs go up, it never gets lowered, right? It is so neat to see that there are publishers and even distributors out there that are doing what they can to try to make the bottom line for the retailer better.
Yes.
I don't want to see the retailers go away. I want to see them wake up. I think there's a lot of them that they need to get their heads out of their asses, and focus on, realize there's more out there than just what they've been looking at. Many of them are. There's some amazing retailers out there that I like a lot. I don't want to see the big two fail.
Right.
I think a healthy big two means a healthy independent industry. Yep. But I want them to wake up. If it means they fail, they fail. I don't think that we will die if they die. I don't think that'll happen. No. Life would be harder for us to build up if they die. We would still survive. But it's easier for us in the long run if they're doing a good job, which is why I praise books like Ultimate Spider-Man. Because
I'll have to check that one out.
They're getting it right. They're finally getting it right.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, it's even outside of that, because it is good for business. You're right. The thing is, what I'm lucky in the sense that because you guys have been reading comics for a long time, right? Because I'm first discovering all these comics from years ago. If they never made a good new comic book today from the big two, I would be fine, because I still have Peter David's whole Hulk run, all new Teen Titans, all of Fantastic Four. I literally have enough comics where I could read new ones from the older stuff for the rest of my life and be fine. That being said, it's good to know when just the idea of new stories from my favorite characters are coming out that aren't bastardizing them. Because the sad part of it is when I'm reading these older comics, it's great, but then knowing, oh, this is where the road leads. This sad sinking feeling of I love the X-Men. It would be a shame if they became a cult that's on an island and violated all the ideals that were built up for all of these years. It'd be a real tragedy if that were to happen. When Professor X is going on these monologues about here's what a good thing to do is, and then it's so weird how many X-Men fans, especially longtime readers, like, yeah, well, Professor X was always a jerk. And I'm like pulling from the shelf. I'm like, no, he wasn't. What are you talking about?
Don't get me started.
It's like the gaslighting. The gaslighting in terms of, comics were always like this. I'm like,
Yeah. Oh, and the X-Men were always political. No, they weren't.
And
How was
they were
Inferno
always woke.
political?
Yeah.
How was Inferno? Like, that's another thing too. I was watching this one video that was an analysis of Inferno, right? And at the end of this analysis, this guy. By the way, look up best X-Men stories. I guarantee you, Inferno is always going to be in the top 10, right? This guy insists that it's not a good X-Men story. It's not a true X-Men story because it's not about social justice, and X-Men is always about social justice. And I'm like, hold on.
No,
hold on. Hang on. There's so many levels of insanity in that statement. First of all, if it's always about social justice and you just reviewed a story where it's not about social justice, then it's it's not always.
Vaughn, you're using logic. Yeah, but you're using logic on this.
Yeah, be careful. Yep.
Second of all, it's like, okay, hold on, I gotta switch my camera battery. It's like, okay. Also, how was Dark Phoenix about social justice exactly?
That was about 85% or so of Claremont's run about social justice. Just great superhero stories.
And I'm not saying there weren't stories that were related to that, but even then, man, like, okay, there's so many stories that you go, what? That's not, like, Inferno is, okay, it's got clones, it's got demons, it's got retcons. Like, where is the social justice there? Or people will point to, Days of Future Past. John Byrne, who came up with that, is an open conservative.
Yeah. Now look, there are they especially Claremont would work in organically.
Yes.
The social justice aspect of things, and don't judge a book by its cover. Don't let groups define you, or don't hate for no reason kind of mentality. Mm-hmm. All good things, okay? All good things. And it's ridiculous that people want to grab onto that. It's always been woke, but it's not.
Yeah. And I'm not in any stupid way like, hold on a second. Sorry, I got to do this. My camera has to do it.
Postmodern. Can I jump in here? Postmodernism is completely different. Like, it's not like it's its own bag of things. Like woke, like the comics back in the day had some like progressive ideals, but like postmodernist woke stuff is its own thing. It's ridiculous movement by itself, right?
Yeah, I mean, and on top of that, there was still, even if you didn't agree with the person, it came from a place of ideal. And this is one of the main things I'm selling with my comic and really hearkening to, is the heroic ideals within the superhero genre, right? That even stuff that I find coming from both sides in general, the biggest thing I think that comics are deviating from is heroic ideals. And it's a big problem. It's a big problem. The X-Men, the biggest difference, because people will say, oh, X-Men was always like, it's not even about the political leanings. It's about the idea that the X-Men were supposed to be, okay, yeah, we might lose this fight, but we're going to keep fighting for a better world because it's the right thing to do, even if we lose every time. And the idea that they just give up and go to an island is just so... I don't even care if it makes for a great story, which I don't think it did, because it violates what they're about.
Well, I like to think of the X-Men thing 100%. When people are talking about it, like World War II, like vets. They weren't woke, right? They were fighting literal Nazis. They weren't woke. The people, the progressive ideologues today with postmodernism, whatever else are basically a cult. And they're, regressive. They're woke. The soldiers back in the day weren't woke. The X-Men are the same thing. They're not woke. They're basically fighting for some of the same ideals, that the soldiers are fighting for.
But look, you can't tell these people nothing.
Nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing.
I love, one of my favorite examples, dude, is when they're like, see, Jack Kirby was woke. And then their argument is because he didn't like Nazis as a Jew. And I'm like,
imagine that.
That's not woke. Or they'll be
It's not even Jewish, and I don't like Nazis.
The quote that they used to say that he was woke was a quote that, in my opinion, actually is the opposite. Where he goes, "I didn't think much about politics. I just know I didn't like Nazis." I'm like, that's not woke at all. That's literally just the average. He literally says he doesn't care much about politics in that quote. Like, what?
Wokeness is all based on political correctness.
Yes.
Like at its core, it's political. Mm-hmm. So political correctness means whatever the politics of the time is, that's what is correct, right? Mm-hmm. And so that means it will change and evolve. Morality is based off of something that's way deeper than that. It's timeless. It's religious. It's something that
it can be. It can be really ethics. It's really ethics and upbringing.
And that's what I wanted to when I was writing my comic book. Not to bring it back to me, but you
are the guest. Let's do it.
Yeah, I literally was making a list of everything I love about it, because I was like, why do I keep coming back to this idea? Okay, if I'm gonna do this, what do I love about superheroes more than anything? So okay, obviously we got the bright costumes, we got everything, but I was writing, it was like the ideal, the optimism, the fun,
amen, Russ,
all of this stuff. And I was like, and it was timeless. I'm like, well, why is it that I could read comics from decades ago or then early 2000s or whatever? And it's like, there's still, what's the core? And it was like, yeah, it's the costumes and everything, but it's more than that. And so I was like, I want to carry on and revitalize the ideals and the energy that make comics special to me.
They had values.
Yep.
And so that's what I do. I describe my comic as, so we're in an era of deconstruction. My comic is a reconstruction and reconstitution of the heroic ideals that make the genre special.
Love that.
That was what I wanted to do.
Yep, that's great.
Vaughn, I like the way you talk for a young man.
Thank you.
I really do appreciate
Thank you.
that.
I'm not a lot of people. There's a reason I hang out with a lot of people older than me. My generation is all about tearing stuff down.
You give me hope for the future,
Unfortunately,
my friend.
Yep.
Yeah.
They don't want you to know history because they want to mold it in their own vision.
By the way, the sign-up link, I don't know where the sign-up link is the best way to send it out, but go to Rebel Oasis
Pop
Studios.
it in the private chat, and I'll put it in the comment chat.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's my hope. And another thing too, guys, feel free to, because one of the things, so I rewrote this so many times. Feel free to criticize. It's, if you're a paying customer, I want to know what I could do better. But I have gotten so much feedback. It's been great. At a certain point, I had to stop and go, okay, I just need to allow myself to just create. I can't be approved by everyone. Not everything can be approved by committee, but you have to find that balance between getting tons of approval or feedback and knowing when to just go with your guts or knowing when to just do it. Thank you, Comic Book Black Belt. Yeah, I think so too. I actually did have a teacher once tell me that I sound like an old man in a kid's body. And I was like, all right, I'll take it. But yeah, I mean, it's just heroic ideals is something good. I will tell you this, getting back to the Jack Kirby thing, I was at a con with Billy Tucci and a friend of mine, Bobby, and Steranko was there. And I was talking to Steranko. And at one point I go, we're talking about Jack Kirby, and I go, they're kind of co-opting his legacy to make him seem like he's some far less communist. And dude, Steranko was seeing red when I said that. He slammed the table. Was like, the fuck do they know about Jack and his politics? Did they ever have dinner with him? I did. Did they ever train under him? I did. They need to he was pissed.
Yep.
It was kind of awesome, but I felt bad. I didn't want to press him anymore because I'm like, I don't want to upset him.
Yeah, you just don't.
You got to be careful. You got to be careful.
But he was he loved Jack. He knew Jack well, and it's like these people who didn't know him, and
they want to project themselves onto him, just like they're doing the characters in the books.
I don't know Jack's politics, but I don't pretend to know Jack's politics.
Yeah, I don't care about Jack's politics.
I don't either at all. I don't care about anyone's. Like, dude, Claremont was Claremont's views were very liberal. That's the thing. Like he, Mystique is literally named after a feminist book, The Feminine Mystique.
Hello, Jens. Yeah,
Jens in the house.
She's a good character.
Morning. Yeah.
Oh, Steranko loves
like,
to talk. Yeah.
And nobody Steranko's like Steranko. Nobody. Just nobody. You got to go. One of your high points, if you're in this business, is to go to dinner with Steranko. Because when you do, you got to talk off about 4 hours. But you let him go, and he will go. And he's got so many great stories. He's got so much to tell you. And when he's at a show, especially, he's just bubbling with enthusiasm.
Oh man,
that's comics to me. That's this industry right there. What a great representative of this industry.
If you
and it doesn't matter what his politics are.
No,
he
it doesn't.
Loves comics.
And that's what
love
we
him back
need.
for it. You know, I saw somebody walk up to him at a con and go, Can I take a picture of you, Mr. Steranko? And he goes, son, says, I never take a picture. I never allow anybody to take a picture of me unless I have two beautiful women at each side of me. He says, you go, you find two beautiful women that'll stand next to me, and I'll let you take that picture.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
and he did.
That's true. When I was first meeting him, I'm online with him. I can't get a picture. I guarantee you, the woman in front and behind me, they got pictures, no problem. If there's a woman involved, that's the thing. I was like, he doesn't do interviews much, and then Rini was like, "Oh, I'm trying to get Jim Steranko." I'm like, he'll probably make an exception for
Rini. Yeah, definitely.
Comics are awesome.
Oh, I didn't know Keanu said that. Yeah, no, if you can't talk about just comics for hours on end, then it's like, I don't know.
Clearly, that's what we do here. Yeah. We talk a lot of comics here. Guys, check this out. Christina Merkler, co-owner of Lunar Distribution, announced that Lunar will now accept affidavit returns for DC Image owning Magma and Vault comics, which the crowd greeted with applause. Wow. They're taking returns.
On a signed affidavit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good on them.
Maybe they want to stop losing money hand over fist.
Maybe they want the retailers to stop losing money hand over fist.
I think they do.
That's the thing.
And that's going to make people want to use Lunar.
That's true, but it's also going to straighten up some of these companies that all of a sudden get returns on real crappy books.
Right, yeah.
Oh, what's all this? Oh, you know.
Yikes. All right. In the Penguin Random House presentation, Director of Comic Marketing Sales, Tyne Hunter, and VP of Customer Operations, Tyne. That's like
Tyne Daly.
That's got it, yeah.
Cagney and Lacey. Yeah. That's a rare name, but it's
a rare name.
It's
yeah. I'm like trying to think his parents must have been a Cagney and Lacey fan.
Could be.
Yeah. Tyne Hunter.
Could be short for something else that we don't, some long lineage name in their family too. So.
Yep, true. And VP of Customer Operations and Strategies, Jess Wells, received improvements made over the past year.
Reviewed.
Improvements
made over the last year.
My bad. Including upgrading comics packaging, making series order history and statements available on their business site, and producing a printed catalog. This announcement was also met with applause.
Yeah.
Which serves as a resource for retailers with a list of read alikes and recommendations for new readers, as well as a product listings. They also have updated and enhanced their website to make ordering and accounting easier for retailers. So basically, they're adopting the diamond model.
Mm-hmm.
It turns out retailers did kind of like that.
Who knew you cater to retailers? Maybe you can get some orders.
Yeah.
What? Ridiculous.
What a bizarre theory.
What?
Buckley pledges to support retailers.
Next, you're going to tell me you have to cater to your audience. Come on.
There you go.
Cater to your audience. Speaking of catering to your audience, this section of the show is brought to you by Call Campaign by the Shadow Kingdom.
The Shadow.
In the time before Atlantis sank and the lands of the world were savage and untamed, one man would claim his destiny. Leaving his Atlantean tribe behind and throwing off the shackles of Lemurian bondage, he sailed the seas as a pirate captain before seizing his place as a king. And now that he has the throne, how long will he be able to keep it? This is the Shadow Kingdom, the classic sword and sorcery tale by Robert E. Howard, adapted by Randy Zimmerman, with artwork by Russ Leach. Available now at fundmycomic.com.
Available March 1st.
March 1st, yes.
March 1st,
Yep.
March 1st, yeah.
So proud of this product. I
exciting.
can't express how great it's going to be to you enough. Both Russ and I are super proud of the work.
So should I, for the character reading the comic, how do we get those?
You make those. You make those
Okay.
yourself. You can download the book right from the website. Down at the bottom of the website, there's a thing called templates. Link there. You can download the templates there. We're going to be adding a couple more, hopefully this weekend. I got to get a couple things ready over there, but we're all going to be adding a couple extra things to the site as well. We're working on a budget calculator so that people can budget their campaigns, figure out how much money they're going to need. And it's going to compare how much money you save with Fund My Comic versus the Pink and Green site. So that's going to be a neat feature. And then we're also going to be implementing some shorts on marketing. So we're going to be adding a whole marketing section to the website, partnering with Crom, who will be on or was on. No, I didn't have Crom on yet. He's coming on, I think, in 2 weeks. So he is a marketing guy.
Okay.
He works for marketing. Crom is his nickname.
Oh,
Crom. He's gone by
CROM. I thought you said Crumb, and I'm like, holy crap.
No, Crom.
Good for us.
Yeah, so he's going to be coming on and talking about that. We're going to be partnering with him. He's going to be making some content to help creatives get better at marketing and putting their campaigns together for marketing and know how to sell it. Because look, you've got Critical Blast out there who can help you fulfill. We just heard yesterday the announcement of Rip Ascend, which, I mean, that's by selection only, kind of pretty much. But I don't think there should be a barrier for entry for those kind of things. I really don't. I think anyone should be able to crowdfund. Anybody should be able to get help with fulfillment. I think anybody should be able to get those tools. And so we give you tools for crowdfunding. We can help you with your fulfillment. But at the end of the day, nobody can help sell your book but you.
Right.
Right? It's all on you, right? So what we can do is give you the resources to be better at selling your book. So we're going to be working on that too.
The thing with this industry, especially right now, especially it being such a Wild West situation when it comes to crowdfunding, the more we help each other is the more we help ourselves.
Amen.
We make this market larger. We're all going to benefit, every last one of us. So we want to help each other out as best we can. Stop the trolling.
Yeah, marketing isn't really important.
Hate ain't creating. Folks.
Welcome, Rainey. Rainey, I would love to have Rainey on one Thursday morning when she's available, but she's not available on Thursday morning. So we're going to do a special where we can chat with Rainey about her career.
Yeah, are you at work, Rainey?
She should be, right?
I wonder if she could
Great logo on that Shadow Kingdom title.
Yeah. Designed
I wonder
by,
who did that.
Yeah, some guy named Glenn Fleming.
I've had Glenn do a couple of logos for me now. Great. I love his work.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah. Very nice. Very nice.
Especially
marketing is
color.
really important. Yeah. Marketing is very, very important to getting this done. And not only that, like if you're going to go the traditional route and get distribution through any one of the companies that we were talking about this morning, any of those three companies, you still need to know how to sell your book to retailers. And you need to be able to give the retailers at least a quick pitch on how they can sell your book to their customers. Mm-hmm. You need to be able to educate them on how to sell your books. Not just leave it up to them, to figure out. Like, hey, here's some talking points for your staff to bring this book up. Or, so those are the things that I'm working on for Arrow Comics in general, so that we can help people sell our books if we put our books in a store somewhere. Yeah. So I mean it's all. There's so much work that we need to do there, and so much resources that we need. Having a platform that's huge is one thing, and that's useful, but you've got to. What I'm finding is that we are focusing so much on our centralized platforms, and we are not reaching outside of those. There's two main ways to grow business. This is Business School 101 here. You can either, one, get new customers by reaching out and finding other customers. and bringing in and increasing the total number of people buying or using your service. Or 2, you can get more money out of each of the existing customers. Both great models. If you pair the two together, even better, right?
Well, the big thing is you have to stop thinking of this industry as this incredibly small pie that only people get little pieces of here and there. We have to go out and make many, many pies and have a whole smorgasbord of stuff in order to attract a large audience and to keep everybody making livings. You know?
Dude, people are like, it's amazing to me. People are telling me like, oh, if they're not a comic book fan, good luck getting them. It's like, how do you think people become comic book fans? They have to start somewhere. I have over 500 signups. A lot of them probably haven't read comics because I bother people in real life. I go and try and get people that are like adjacent to comics. Why I'm trying to do content that I do want to do a lot of comic book focused content, right? But I also want to do stuff talking about video games and things like that, because there are people in so many other pockets. I was pulled from other pockets to comics, right? Like movies and stuff brought me to comics. That's the thing. Comics don't advertise themselves, right? That's a big problem. They get advertised through other media. And even then, barely, let's be honest. But like, I was right for the picking as a kid who was into superheroes. If I had been in the grocery store with my mom and comics were still there, I would have been a comic fan. I had to seek them out because I had in the movies, video games, Lego sets, all that kind of stuff. Everything in the comics was the last thing I got to in terms of being. It was like the last stage of a Batman fan. It's like, I've explored this. All right, where does this all come from? The comics. And it wasn't until I was in 6th grade, despite being a lifelong Batman fan, that I finally myself was like, okay, what are some good Batman comics to read? Batman Hush.
I'm kind of in the same boat as Vaughn here, because I didn't start with comics. I started with tabletop games, miniatures, 3D modeling, all that stuff, and most of my like fan base I built up over the years is in those circles with like 3D modeling, miniatures, and tabletop games. And then I moved on to comics to expand that network. So like now I'm doing all this comic stuff and like leaning into it heavily. But like a lot of people forget that have a lot of stuff in another completely, not all my eggs are in one basket. Like I've diversified all over the place. And I always feel like you have to be, for marketing, you have to be like Nintendo, right? Sure, Nintendo makes video games, but they make everything else. And it also took them decades to get where they are. So you're not going to be an overnight success.
It takes strategy. You don't stumble into this stuff. Yeah. Like you got to have like I'm going to work on like a basic outline for marketing that we're going to place on the website. So people can say, look, here is a basic outline of how you market for your campaign. So that people can start getting those things in mind. Because I realize most people don't know how to do those things. They don't understand how to build that. And like what Rainey says here, we are competing with manga and novels. The pie is infinite. We just have to get out there. We really do. It is about getting out there and understanding how to sell.
Preposterous.
Talk to people. What? Yeah, you got to talk to people. It's
going out in person is key too. Like I printed 250 postcards, whatever. I'm almost out of them. I'm going to have to print more before the end of the month with my sign up page. And I'm leaving them. Like I just left 10 in a store yesterday. It was like a, and what's the worst case scenario? It doesn't lead to signups. Okay. Like the printing cost of those things, right, is like, if I handed out 250, if even like 5 people back, I've made up the printing cost.
Right. Yeah. It's worth it.
It's worth it. It's and people are like what I do is I see someone, oh, you're in a superhero costume. I was at MegaCon handing it out. Oh, I see someone walking around in a superhero shirt or a theme or even a nerdy shirt. I was at the Final Fantasy VII premiere wearing a cloud or like of the Advent Children movie. And I was wearing the Cloud costume, of course. And I was just handing out because these people are into nerdy stuff. Like I'm going to do a Final Fantasy VII homage cover, like, just handing out, or I was at the Demon Slayer thing, handing these out. What if none of them sign up? Okay.
Right.
The thing is, people are afraid. Oh, what if they say no? There's 7.8 billion people. The vast majority of them don't give a shit about you. They don't matter. What matters is the people that will. And the people that will consider. Obviously, the people that are on the fence, you got to try and bring them to your side.
Here's a real world statistic for you. Whatever your platform is, whether it be a mailing list, subscribers, YouTube, whatever it is, right? 10% of whatever your platform is, that's who's going to come in and they will definitely support you.
Yeah.
10%, right? Mm-hmm. So of that 500, you can guarantee 50 people, right? So if you want 150 backers, how many signups do you have to have? You got to think. Like, you have to think in those terms. So you go and you find as many people as you can to tell about it. Now, if you're really good at the pitch, then maybe you'll get 15%, 12 to 15%. So there's a lot of work that you've got to do with
you got to harass your friends too. That's
you really do.
I do. I'll be my friends. I remember like one time I was hanging out with my friends. I'd be like, yeah, man. I'm like, oh, I'm almost at this many signups. They'd be, congrats. I'm like, yeah, it'd be really great. I'd be like, it'd be really great if you guys signed up. And get around to it. I'm like, oh yeah, now would be a good time, right?
Speaking of
and
which,
they're at the table with me. They can't escape. So I'm like,
go sign up right now. The link is in the chat. You know who hasn't signed up?
Who?
I don't think I've signed up. I don't think I've signed up. Now that we're talking about it, I'm like, I don't think I signed up.
Comics. I've had dinner with the guy. He lives near me. He just signed up yesterday. I had an aggressive pitch yesterday. I said, I don't want to hear you complaining about the lack of the trading card if you haven't signed up. I've had people that like my posts, my story posts, and say it looks awesome almost every day. And finally, I'm like, so I have a question for you. Have you signed up? Yeah. They're like, he's like, oh no, I keep forgetting. It takes 2 seconds, man.
Yeah. I'm definitely backing your book, right?
Thank you.
Like, I'm definitely backing it on day one.
There's so many people that I know are gonna back it, and I'm like, all right, man.
I don't need to sign up
because trading card.
I mean, hell, you're using my platform. I'm definitely going to back this book on day one. I'm gonna be watching when you go live. But I'm like, wait, I don't get the trading card if I don't sign up. Screw that. I want the trading card.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I had one of my favorite things is it's so weird. I had one person, I literally announced my launch date for my comic, and someone unsubscribed and said, too spammy. I'm like, this is important. Like, every email I've sent is important information. Like,
right. So we will send out emails for Fund My Comic, right? When you sign up for Fund My Comic, you agree to join with the mailing list. It's all part of our terms of service, right? Now you can unsubscribe to the email as soon as one comes out. One comes out occasionally. We don't do them very often. So I will send out the email, and people's like, hey, I didn't notice you promote my book in the newsletter. I'm like, well, did you unsubscribe to the email? Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know what to tell you. That's kind of,
I actually,
that's what you're going to get.
I haven't unsubscribed, but I don't get those.
People are like, oh man,
we just sent one out last week.
Maybe it's got a problem with like Outlook or something. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah. They go out. I do one like every couple of months. We didn't do much during the winter. Now that things are picking up, we're going to do one every couple of weeks because we always have brand new campaigns coming out. So I think on the 2nd, we're going to have another one scheduled so that we can get Shadow Kingdom, Phenomenova in there, and a couple of other ones that are launched at the beginning. So we have a lot of new, exciting things coming in. So now it's time to, during the winter, hardly anybody's launching. And now people are starting up stores in the winter.
Mm-hmm. And now the tough part, and I've said this before, right? Because the marketing I realize is taking, when I started writing comics, what I didn't factor in is everything that's not literally writing. I'm like, I'm a writer. Yeah, I'll just talk about it. Didn't factor in how annoying marketing can be. But marketing I've learned to kind of like, because I like making connections. Anyone who's hung out with me at a convention, that's how I really started getting on live streams, right? Like, people don't understand. It was more so like I started hanging, like I got Graham Nolan invited me out to dinner, and then we started like in a group, and then we started hanging out, and then it was just like, that's how I really started getting to know people. And that's also why, for example, Billy Tucci is the most connected, is because he's personable. He hangs out with people.
Yeah, you're super you got to be likable in this business.
And if you're not,
tempting as it is to be an ass all the time.
Yeah, and another thing too is you got to get out of your house. And I know a lot of artists are very introverted. Now, to be fair, there are people like Steve Ditko who have succeeded. And it sucks. I feel bad for the introverts, right? But not to be mean, but that's, it's not my problem. But I don't know if you could tell, but it really is like an important thing. Now, the thing that you have to be aware of is I know for a fact objectively, while I think I'm a great writer and I think I have a great product and people who've read it agree with me, I don't have 506 signups or what am I at now? 509 signups because I am a good writer. Because the fact of the matter is the people signed up do not know that. Objectively, they don't. They don't, because they know he could be good one. Now it's the working my ass off, making sure that I could deliver a great product to be worthy of all the talk, right? Of all, I'm talking all this game. You got to be willing to, and I've rewrote this so many times, but you have to be willing to sell it and then deliver. Or if once I've already delivered, and the thing is learning that I'll always be a work in progress is a problem too, because I'm like, once I'm ready, but I kept putting off that I was ready. And for a while it was good. Like if I had released some of my earlier drafts, good Lord. But at a certain point you do have to just pull the trigger.
You do. Yeah. You have to jump in, and there's no better way to be ready than to jump into the fray and do it, and learn. I've gotten better with sequential art and storytelling because I draw anywhere between 10 and 20 pages a week.
Wow.
It's getting in there and doing it. I don't have much of a social life. This is my social life, 3 hours on Thursday morning.
Wow.
Outside of that, I'm in the chair working. This is where I'm at. I should probably get out and go to the gym a few more times than what I do, but this is where I'm at. You have to get in there and you have to do it and you have to produce stuff. I loved, when we talked about, how do you say her last name? The one that just passed away? Fradon?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you, her and her husband did a book just so she could learn.
Yeah.
Just so she could learn the art of it. You have to actually make something.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about it is one thing, doing it's another thing. That's where I have to tip my hat to Eric July. I mean, he doesn't just talk about it. He's actually doing something. He's putting it, putting action to it. Whether you like the result or not doesn't matter. He did it. And the more he does it, the better he's going to get at it.
Yeah, I like to say every book that you produce is a mark in time. And the idea is to do it, get it out, then take a look at it, and next time do better.
Right. Yeah. Keep growing.
Keep growing.
The only person we're really truly in competition with is who we were yesterday. Can I be better than that guy today? Speaking of competition, though, Buckley pledges to support retailers with a $3.99 price for most Marvel titles. One of the most important promotional objectives for 2024 is driving foot traffic into your stores. Marvel Comics president Dan Buckley told retailers at the Comics Pro 2024 Comic Industry Conference. And he backed that up with a number of initiatives, including the Marvel Must-Haves program in consistent pricing with the base cover price set at $3.99 and access to low-cost Spidey and His Amazing Friends comics to attract young readers. I think that's a move in the right direction, as Stippling Vaughn says that $3.99 doesn't mean much if the comics aren't any good. So hopefully they will work in that direction.
And in my opinion, Marvel's at the point now where they need to take that barrel and completely clean it out, wash it out, and fill it with good fruit in order for people to come by and enjoy.
Will they be allowed to, however?
Yes.
They're gonna have to at this point, or they're not
come
gonna make
on,
money.
it's capitalism. You can do whatever you want still. All you have to worry, all you have to say
make
is
money. They need to do it.
You can only get canceled if you allow people to cancel you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many people have we watched get canceled and they are still doing stuff?
Yeah.
You still have executives and whatever that they have to answer to, right? Like they call the shots. Unfortunately, like the Marvel has higher ups, right?
Until those executives get replaced.
Yeah, everybody gets replaced. And when it comes down to the almighty dollar, that's what they're going to focus on.
Yeah. Let's hope that Disney board meeting goes the way that that profitability goes. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know if that's true, because if it was true, they wouldn't be making a lot of the decisions they have been making.
I think they're backtracking now. They're trying to make up for a lot of things. And Dan Buckley here is making a lot of lip service, but let's see it happen.
I think there's probably a huge ideological divide happening in these companies right now, where the people that want to make money, pad their pockets and stuff like that, versus the ideologues that have been implanted in those companies for a long time. And there's probably some like crazy struggles we don't get to see.
And I think it's going to be worse the next couple of years. It's just going to be a constant until they decide if they're going to be a soapbox or if they're going to be a profit-making machine. And they've always been a profit-making machine up until the last 15, 20 years. So they're letting in those ideologues and letting them wedge their way in has been a problem. And they've seen it with their bottom line. How much longer they want to keep enjoying no sales and hurting the entire industry, that's entirely up to them.
Rainey's got a lot to say about this. Rainey, pop in if you want to.
Rainey's always got a lot to say.
Or just pop the link in the chat.
Yeah. Or they'll change. Or the industry will change and go past them.
I think
which is not unheard of.
Creatorverse just dropped a $2 super chat. Thank you. I signed up, bud, and backing on day one. Let's thank you for flipping us the bird. We do appreciate that. It's the only bird around here we love. That Saki bird dance, man. I'm telling you, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much for your generosity. We do appreciate it.
Oh, and by the way, with YouTube, if you guys are interested while you're signing up for my comics, make sure you do. Also, check out my channel, Ron Coleman. Obviously, just sign up, subscribe if you haven't already.
Go subscribe. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I'll be making some good content. Oh, yeah.
Shameless self-promotion is never a bad thing.
No, it's not. It's listen, I've learned it too, because a lot of people are just like, have been just too nice, where they're like, and I get it. I've been like, but I've seen pitches where people, like even people who I know have a good product, like, yeah, I mean, like, it's not essential, back it if you want. I'm like, no, it's not how you do it. You gotta be like, you need this. Here's why you need this. Do you technically need any comic book? No, you don't.
Just gonna get Vaughn to sell my comic.
Bend over and take our comics.
Listen. If you wanna pay me to sell your comic book, you got to be like, tell them why it's like they'll die if they don't have your product.
You will. It is crazy. Welcome, Finatra. You can see he popped in. Good to see you here. Awesome one says, bend over and take our comics.
Yeah. Pixel said, hey, the guy that spearheaded the live action initiatives over at Disney got let go. So, they're at least looking in the right direction. We'll see how it goes.
They are. Yeah. On price, Buckley said the bulk of the line will be $3.99, which drew applause from the audience, although he qualified it by saying number ones and top titles with top talent and top characters will be priced $4.99. Event books, one-shots, and anniversaries issues will also be exceptions to the $3.99 price point, but will have more consistent pricing. So they're going to make a cheap line to get people in the door.
Well, they need to do that to start with. They always need to be playing with a different format in order to gain an audience. Wendy's announced last week that they were going to raise their prices during peak visitation hours.
I heard that, during peak traffic.
It only took them like 48 hours to back right down on that one. Because people said, what are you doing? Okay, we're sorry.
I guess we're not coming during peak hours anymore.
We're not doing that.
It's like
you're
ready to go out of business?
Slow hours, yeah.
That's exactly what they need to do, the opposite. Lower the prices during slow hours.
That's
so
what
that
Marvel's
people will
doing
be more
here.
Yes. It's not a bad idea. It's something that needs to be done. We do need to look at other formatting. No, we don't always have to do, there for a while in crowdfunded books, it always had to be a 48 page. It was $25, and it always had to do this, and you always had to go to Indiegogo, and you always had to do this, and you always had to do that, and this was the norm. And like, who set that?
Yeah.
One or two people set that because that's what they like to do, and it's what worked for their business, but it doesn't necessarily work for everybody's business, right? We need to look at other formats. Maybe a digest size book is where you need to go. Maybe you need to focus more on motion comics and trying to find your audience through multimedia if you're younger. Maybe you need to, do more anthology stuff or kind of like Tapas type collections. Maybe
playing in every direction you possibly can.
Are you proposing that we innovate and try new things?
Yeah, exactly. I would never do such a thing.
Preposterous.
How dare you?
Next, you're going to argue that we should think like individuals.
What?
I mean, can you? I think honestly, I think this is a bad idea coming on the show. I mean, this is some really like out of the box stuff that I just don't think I can get on board.
It's crazy.
It's just crazy. Call the thought police.
Yeah, next you're gonna tell us to like innovate to.
Why? Because
you know why?
Why?
I don't know why. Man.
Hojo did change the price drop on that.
You don't know why? Can we drop it?
Can we go for it? We get one. We get one.
Here it is. Here, Vaughn. This is why.
Why? Because fuck them. That's why.
I love Dave Chappelle.
We get one. We had Al Mega on recently, and I love Al. He's great, but he's a New Yorker, a true New York kind of vibe, right? So he uses swear words,
like a sailor,
liberally. Yeah.
Well, like it's like an art form, right?
Every adjective, yeah.
So like there was quite a few F's in there, and we got demonetized.
Did you really?
That episode got demonetized.
I didn't know they went after swearing like that.
They do. They do. Right. Yeah. The other advertisers don't want to be on anything that's swearing. That's why I say we're allowed one, so that we can keep the monetization up on those rewatches. But it doesn't really matter because we've turned monetization on our bacon bits, which is doing pretty good. So we have made $100 in the last 4 years.
$100 more than we had before.
Of doing this channel. So we're doing great. We're not paying for that StreamYard. That's for dang sure.
Dude, I thought this is one of the things when I started paying for StreamYard, it's like I'll be able to make this money back.
So they call the value for value model.
Maybe eventually.
Yeah, we share a StreamYard. So a few of us pitch in together. So
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, so we share it. So
that's genius.
Yeah, so it's it saves money, and it gives us all access to
Pixel,
the big thing.
What's going on?
Hey, Pixel's in the house. Welcome.
If you look at something and there's nothing there, what's the difference of figuring out what it was in the first place?
Speaking about YouTubing and streaming and stuff, a long time ago, I ended up on Vaughn's channel, and I recommended Fun My Comic to Vaughn, and he's finally doing it.
Yeah,
look at him out there being an ambassador.
Yeah, look at this, a good man.
Yeah. So
I got to disagree with that last statement. There should be all kinds of comics, middle of the road, top of the road.
Oh, I thought you were saying disagree with that last statement when I said he's a good man.
Oh no, not yours. No,
okay.
No, sorry, Vaughn.
He's like, no,
yeah. They used to rap. They used to, back in my day, they used to rap comics with bubble gum, or they used to rap bubble gum with comics. That old Bazooka Joe. You used to be able to buy it out of a 25-cent machine and get a little Hulk or a Nick Fury comic, little tiny thing that fit in a little bubble. There ought to be, and those were horrible, just absolutely atrocious. Comics ought to be everywhere, in every form that you can.
Every place you can get them.
Everywhere.
Any way that you can do it. I don't think there's a wrong format to do.
That's how
try it. Try it. If it works, then everybody else should try it too. I think, sequential storytelling is such a great medium. And it's like you said earlier about, wanting to make a movie. You have to compromise on your vision to meet budgets.
Yeah.
And to be able to do what you really want to do. And
oh man,
it's endless. It's one page rate, and you can put anything you want on that page. Mm-hmm. Right? You can do anything in that story. Yeah. And the imagination is the only limit when it comes to that.
It's
nothing compares to comics, man.
It's so nice seeing that, like knowing that if I want to put an explosion, it's just the idea that it's page rate is the same regardless of what you put on there is really something that I found refreshing. Now the tough part is how much work goes in, but I know that I'll be able to move faster in the future because of all the roadblocks I've had now.
Yeah, let's talk about some of those roadblocks. So today's kind of basic topic is it's not me, it's you. We've all had some horror stories with artists or writers or collaborators or even just group associations, like with a publisher or something where we're like, I got to get out of this. Let's just talk about some of your personal roadblocks and what are some of the things that you've kind of hurdles you've come up with so far in this comic journey?
Man, I mean, there's a lot. I tell you, there's so many. I think one of them ones is the whole idea of I have to be ready. Is while it did serve me to a point, because there was work that needed to be done. Objectively, there was the making sure you do everything instead of just doing it. The constant fear of, I need to make sure everything's protected. Everything's, that serves you to an extent, but I think the letting go. But in terms of teachable stuff, sometimes waiting to pull the trigger can be a problem, but sometimes pulling the trigger too early can be a problem. I think making sure, to me personally, if I'm creating something with someone, making sure that they're willing to talk on the phone to me has been important. Also knowing that creating with someone could be different from friendship. And there's so many things. I don't know where I learned. I think it's tough.
Let me dig in that a little bit. The creative partnership versus friendship. I think we've all run into that where, they're my buddy, I want to hire him. And then you realize that you kind of have to be a boss sometimes with that. Let's talk about that for a second. What's a lesson that you learned there? And then we'll let everyone share on this one because I'm sure we've all been there.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's actually I've been pretty fortunate with my friends. Like my friend Jules, who did the trading card. I mean, she's great. So like that, it was fine. I think but it's also on the same token, you don't have to be friends with everyone that you work with. But I think it's also being too friendly to creators where you're like, yeah, you can take all the time you want with the deadline. Now, sometimes you got to be like, hey, you have to give, if I ever work for you, you have to give me a deadline. That's one thing I'm learning is like, because I was like, hey, man, just as long as you need to. No, because then if it's as long as you need to, there will always be something that comes up.
Right. Yeah.
That's why I tell people to give me deadlines is because I need to be better. I'm
ADHD, man. I will jump off and work on something else. I
made that mistake.
Yeah. Like, give me a deadline. Tell me when you want it done. And then I will get it done. If you're like, hey, just whenever you want. This shit ain't getting done. Right.
Yeah. I think learning to really talk things through your creative difference. I think one of the things is if you can clash with someone and disagree with someone and still come out through it strong, that is a very good sign.
Yeah.
Go
ahead. I'm sorry.
If you clash with someone and instantly and you just feel like you're walking on eggshells around someone that you're working with, that's going to be a problem. But if you know to avoid certain subjects or certain things, you can just work around it. It's all about, I think, finding that. It's kind of like people skills in general. I just think apply to creating. Actually.
Right. So I think, there's definitely a personal barrier that comes in with this stuff where, that ready versus, I think we're never really truly ready.
No, I've learned that.
But, yeah. And, there's always that battle between perfect and finished. Mm-hmm. And I think a finished product is better than a perfect product in a lot of cases. Now, obviously we want it to be as good as we possibly can make it, but I have never finished a piece that I've been happy with the day after.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the next day I'm like, oh, I see all the errors and all the mistakes.
There's also diminishing returns too, right? Because you can go and rework a page for days and days and fine tune little details that will probably never even be seen once the page is shrunken down. But if you just let go, step back, and then go focus on something else and knock out more stuff, you've done far more than just that little bit that you're messing with.
I went back and remastered the first 5 issues of Hybrids one time, and I won't go back and do it again, even though my art has improved, probably 100-fold from those early issues, because they still serve the purpose of telling the story, but it also is a capsule of time. Yep. Where look where I was, and then when you get to issue 9 and 10, look, when you get to 10, the quality of art from issue 9 to 10 is also like night and day. It's like, oh my gosh, did a different artist do that? Nope, same guy. I just have probably another 400 pages under my belt between issue 9 and issue 10 that I've worked on for other people. Yeah. So, there is that growth. You're never really going to be happy with what you did today down the road. You're going to think, I could have done better. You'll be happy
it's done, though.
You'll be happy it's done. Yeah.
Stuff that I'm sorry.
When I'm doing commission work for 3D modeling and such, it's always, is it good enough? Is the final cutoff? Because I can go forever. I can, go right down to the iris, the pupil, and the lines and cones of the eyes if I wanted to. But is it good enough? And you have to really get used to telling yourself, this is finished, this is good enough, this will sell, this works, move on.
Yeah. Now, so you've not had any problems working with friends. I have. I've actually been in a couple situations where, I work with people that I like, and they took advantage of that work relationship. I do like a certain level of disagreement that I have with people, because I want some pushback that makes things better, but it needs to be pushback based on what will make it better, not what's going to be easiest to accomplish, right? I think that's why I like working with Piper Steed as one of my editors. She does, she's anal. I'm just really, really honest. Piper, if you're watching this, I love you, but you're anal. She will obsess over every tiny little detail. And at some point, I gotta be like, that's good enough and move on. But that's why we work so well as a team, especially if I'm producing the book and she's editing and, kind of going over the editing thing and like what we did with Rift Riders. She was agonizing over all these little things. And I was like, no one's going to notice that. It's good to go. We need to get it done. Because done is better than perfect.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, no one's going to notice these things. It's good. The dialogue is great. Everything flows. That tiny little thing, we could send it back in and redraw that, or, then we have to redo the whole page. No, let's not even worry about that. Let's just move the project along. And so you do have to kind of battle with that. And I like having people that we have a work relationship and not a friend relationship, because I think sometimes, especially in this creative field, when you start working with someone, people take things very personal as a creator, which I think is very interesting with you, Vaughn, that you don't take things that serious. Well, you take it serious, but you don't take it that personal. When they laughed at the name of your character, you're like, oh yeah, I should probably change that.
Well, it's because And here's why. It depends. And this is something that's extremely important. Is when you're criticizing someone, and obviously criticism is criticism, even if it's valid. But listen, I've had people say on both sides, people that don't want what's best for me, and people that when people on creative block, who are my friends and fellow creatives that want what's best for me, are messing with me and giving me feedback. And like even earlier today, I had a friend of mine message me and say, "Hey, your thumbnails really aren't eye-catching. Here's what you should do." That's someone that cares. Yeah. When it's someone that clearly doesn't give a shit about me and actually clearly, and you could tell has like issues with me, I'm like, all right, so this is just an excuse to be a shithead, essentially. Yeah. You could tell when there's a difference. When I know someone's like looking out, it's it's the same thing. It's like this when generally it all comes down to context, right? I ask people for criticism all the time. Anyone who's friends with me in the creative space can tell me I'm always asking questions, and I do the same to other creatives. I say, hey, here's something I think you should improve on. Anyone who knows me can attest to that.
So there's that argument in the Twitterverse there for a minute about whether there's such a thing as bad faith criticism, and there absolutely is. There really is. It's people that aren't going to be there. They're not investing in your growth. All they want to do is tear you down, and they want to get in your head. And so they're not giving you a solution to the problem. They're just pointing out the problem, right? Good criticism will show you the problem, but will give you a suggestion to fix the problem so that you're not sitting there floundering and in the dark and tearing yourself down. And by the way, no, I've never talked to Piper as Fizz. So I only talk to Piper as Piper. And yes, another person can attest her attention to detail.
Yeah.
So
it's that, and it's that. It's the same thing with jokes, right? It's like, yeah, you could do it. You could be harsh as you want, but at the end of the day, is it coming from a place of care and love, or is it coming from? It's the same thing with criticism.
Right. Yeah.
It's the same thing with that.
And
tough love,
I've reduced my circle. So this is a thing that I learned in ministry, was that sometimes you have to send people outside of you have to break up. You're like, okay, you're not allowed in the circle anymore. There needs to be this little, group that you allow that speaks into your life. They're there to speak into your life during the rough times, and they're there to speak into your life during the good times. And they're allowed to criticize you. They're allowed to give you advice, that's going to be, those are people that you trust, because not everybody that comes up that is concerned is really concerned for you. It's like concerned trolling kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which we didn't have a word for back then.
I'm looking out for you, bud.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Right.
You don't want to do this. It's like, okay.
Yeah. So I had this this Christian counselor guy that I talked to, because in ministry is rough. So if you're not talking to someone as a pastor, you definitely should be. You should find someone that you can, on a clinical and personal level, talk to keep your mental health there. So I was talking to this guy, and an ex-New York cop, does pastoral counseling, and he was giving this analogy of your house. He says there's front porch people. He goes, there's sidewalk people, front porch people, living room people, second floor people, where that's where your bedrooms and more intimate stuff is, and then your attic people, that are allowed to get up there and see what's in the attic, right?
And there's people down the street too.
Right, yeah, and then there's people you don't even allow in your yard, right? He said, so you're allowed to send people that used to be living room people back out to the porch. You decide where they come into your house and where they spend that time. And sometimes it's a family member that you have to send out, right? And I learned that in ministry, but I've learned that now also in comics. I think the same thing works here. That sometimes when you're working with people, that even if they produce good work, that the mental health that they drain from you, the life they suck out of you, isn't worth the return on investment. The drama they create. I've had people I've had to fire because they create too much static online. Doesn't sell a book. That doesn't sell a book.
Contrary, it doesn't. It doesn't make people want to buy it if
I've lost more sales from that, believe it or not.
I believe it. 100%. I believe it.
Yeah. So I was partnered with this one guy, and I don't like mentioning his name, but he has called me out with a set of lies on his channel. I'll just say that that this was a project that I did 2 issues for, right? Mm-hmm. And he would cause battles. So originally, when we started working together, I wasn't really affiliated with the Comicsgate group at that time, but kind of through things, I was already kind of inadvertently associated with them. Mm-hmm. And so then I was just like, well, publicly, yeah, I know I'm with my fans over here, right? So what we wound up having was this conversation between the two of us, because he was kind of an SJW. In fact, he was a self-proclaimed SJW.
Oh.
Yeah, which makes a whole different story. But had claimed to be a Christian, claimed to be a pastor, actually. Turns out he hadn't pastored at all. He was gaining my trust. Said he was a pastor, wasn't a pastor, actually. He did occasionally he would lead a Bible study of a group of Christian business owners in his town, which wasn't church, and that's not pastoring. It's not the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. And so big fat lies on that, right? But so we had this conversation. He's like, hey, I'm calling you because I don't want a digital footprint of this. He goes, but since you're associated with them, I really want to run with this because they got money and they spend money. So see if you can get in as many shows as you can over there to try to sell this book. And I'll go to all of my shows and try to sell the book there. And maybe we can do a really good job on this. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Whatever.
Well, just a comment there.
Yeah, I
he was a masturbator.
I'm sorry. I apologize as juvenile, but that's hilarious.
That is funny. That's funny. And so we did that, but in the process, he would then go on social media and start blasting any of these CG backers that we would bring in, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, you can't do that.
You can't disrespect the customers.
Right. And he did that. So the first book, that didn't really matter as much. But he tried to say, well, this person backed out because you're associated with this. And I'm like, okay, they backed out, but look, we brought in 4 more backers that actually spent more money. So more than offset, so, business, good, way to go. Right. Mm-hmm. During the second campaign, the writing was crap. The workload got higher. I realized at this point, because I've started doing work for other people, this was my first commission job on an actual comic. And I realized that $25 page rate is not good. That's not normal. And so it was not working out well for me. And he was fighting more with people. And every time he would make these fights and people would leave their support, they would remove their support, he was blaming me. He was like, see, it's because of your connections or whatever. And I'm like, dude, finally I was done. The last thing that I did was 3 days before I went in the hospital, before I almost died, was I had him sign a contract releasing. And I said, look, I'm done. You buy me out. I'm done with you. You can do with whatever you want with the property, because the story, the way you're taking it's not where you said it was going to go, and it sucks. Now I don't even like it. And so that was like the best thing that I ever did. But I had to divorce myself from him and the circle of people that he kept, because the mental toll. He would bash me in front of my family. He would bash me on streams, and belittle me and downgrade my contributions on streams. I mean, it was just it was terrible working environment.
That's awful, dude.
And as soon as I decided that I was not going to work with him anymore, I became a happier, healthier person.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes you got to do that.
Sometimes you got to break up. It wasn't me. It was him. 100%.
Yeah. It was. That's a great title, actually. Yeah. It's true. I mean, sometimes you really got to realize, is it worth it? And that's the thing too, man, without getting into it, for whatever issues I've had, I will say, January, I was at 230 signups. I am now at 509. You know, people can leave it, and every once in a while I'll have someone unsubscribe. I promise you, I more than fill any void when someone unsubscribes to my mailing list. I promise you.
So you're good at filling voids, is what you're saying?
Yes, on occasion. What are you you getting at?
What am I getting at?
From the peanut gallery, I think that people are I'm like a polarizing figure, but I tend to keep my my friends close, but I don't keep my enemies close at all. I put up a really there's Lucas got this analogy where he's got let people into the house. I have a minefield, right? And like a secret treasure map to be able to get inside the house, and only genuine people that I trust explicitly, who don't cause drama, who don't come at me sideways, who don't attack people, get in, right? If I find that somebody's being going to be a problem, or I know that they don't really get me, or they want to I find them like a dangerous individual, I'll just block them, I ignore them, I get them out of my house as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. You want to, again, there's levels. You can love someone from down the street too. That's another thing.
Yeah, you
don't have to hate someone.
Yeah, you can love someone from a distance. It is okay to love someone from distance. It's okay to, and I've worked with collaborators like that. It's like working on a project with them was not fun. I didn't like it. And after we stopped working together, the relationship is much better. And I can support them and they can support me. Mm-hmm. And we can do that. Like, hey, we're going to work together someday. We're going to work together again someday. And we know we're never going to work together again someday. It's okay. We just give the platitude, and it is what it is. I can support them from a distance. Some people can't be edited. Like, you really try to edit them, you try to give feedback, and they get very defensive. They can't be edited. All they want is a copy editor. They don't want a true editor.
All right, and a true editor is crucial, man. You really need someone who will challenge you, because if your ideas can't hold up to questioning, that's a problem.
From a distance. Gotta sing it out loud. Hojo says, I wouldn't mind working with someone so I wouldn't have to do 1,000% of the promotion and marketing. Well, the truth is, no one's going to sell your book better than you are.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I don't believe in anyone's ideas as much as my own.
Yeah. Well, I think people are so afraid of, and I'm going to get on this kick again because I've been on it for a few weeks now. I think people are so afraid of AI that they don't know how to harness it to be a tool for them, especially with what you can do with marketing. If you type up like what you would like to do for marketing, just try this. Just prose it. Like, do word vomit into a document. Like, oh, I would like to do this for marketing. I'd like to do that for marketing. I'd like to do this for marketing. Come up with a few different things. Copy that thing over there and say, into ChatGPT and say, please make me an outline for a marketing plan based on these ideas. Pop it in there, and it will organize your ideas for you and pop it in there. And now you've got a marketing plan. That's simple. And all you had to do was exactly what you do when you're writing a story, when you're coming up with the beats, the main beats, right? And it basically does what an office assistant would do. Here's my ideas, put it into an outline for me. And so you can use these tools to speed up your day and to give you some direction. And if there's one area that's not really, like built out, you know what ChatGPT is? It's really Google on steroids. It's got the whole of the internet there. It's like, hey, robot, artificial intelligence, you. On this particular topic, what are some known ways to accomplish this that have been successful based on top internet searches?
You know what I use it for? One of the main things that I'm kind of glad that it exists is probability mechanics. In gaming, there are specialists that go to university to give you all the mathematical numbers and equations and stuff to help design a game, so that when you roll a dice that point A is going to, you're not going to get wiped across the board by one side. Everything's all like copacetic and balanced out. Well, now I don't have to pay for that at all. I can just type that in the chat GTP and it gives me all the math in one thing. Otherwise I'd have to pay a crap ton of money to somebody for that stuff.
Right. Hojo says, I just meant someone that is passionate about the project and having a true collaboration and not a commission. I think finding those is very difficult. True passion. Now, it's very rare that Randy and Russ are very passionate about this
Shadow Kingdom.
Shadow Kingdom.
Oh, yes.
Or Robert E. Howard.
Mm-hmm.
It is great when you can find those. And I think that's why it's important to get with a publisher that can be passionate about your work.
It really springs out of Russ's enthusiasm to want to do a barbarian book, and me always wanting to adapt a Robert E. Howard story. So just came together at the right time, and it's one of those projects of love. It's great. Yeah.
So Pete Smeddy just had 2 creators leave Alterna. So even when you have the support Pete provides, it's still not enough for some people. Mm-hmm. It's true. And and look, I've been on, so I was started with Starcross. And it wasn't a problem with Joe or what they were doing. It was where my growth was going was the main reason why I needed to step away from that. And sometimes it's not a negative, like breaking up isn't necessarily negative. It's, you're going in different directions. You're wanting different things. I've had this happen with bands, and I've not really had it. This is more nebulous, more fluid when it comes to comics. But when, like in music, you're dependent on other people to make that music. And we've had bands where it just didn't, maybe one guy wanted to tour and someone else didn't. And it just didn't work out, life things. So you have to make these changes and you have to decide, well, is this bass player going to stick with us, or are we going to replace him, or we're going to run with tracks with his, with his bass parts in the background? What are we going to do? And so you have to make those kind of calls and those kind of decisions. Not every breakup is necessarily a bad one. Sometimes just the distance is what's needed in some of those situations. But,
or sometimes they rob you.
Yeah. Yeah, it is possible. So
you never know people. You never really know anybody.
So 509 signups for Vaughn so far.
I'm on fire.
Yeah. Let's get those numbers up, guys.
Let's get those numbers up, guys. Yeah. So, what are some of the values of your character? Why? Oh, I put the wrong link in there again. Hold on.
Should I share the screen too, or should we?
Yeah, go ahead and share the screen if you like.
All right. So my character, one of the things I wanted to do about him is have him he's an idealist. Is I think really what it boils down to is that's what he is. So he is the son of. So this story is set 20 years after World War III, and follows this teenage boy who is the son of a veteran who fought during the war, and he is struck by lightning while holding this mysterious crystal, and he finds himself awakening with lightning powers mixed with super speed. So like he can convert the electricity in his body and run lightning fast, and he could also just like manipulate electricity, shoot it from his hands, what have you. Him becomes galvanite. So one of the things that I really wanted to harken on to is that he's not ready to be a superhero in terms of all practical terms quite yet. He has plenty to learn, and can absolutely be a hothead. He could be, naive and quick, very impulsive, but he's got the heart of a hero. He's got the values. He's got the ideals. And that was what I think was the starting point of the superhero genre, is that he's got powers, the potential to do great good, and he's got the ideals, or the most important elements, more so than the costume. He does have a makeshift costume that you'll see in issue 1. There's one version of it. And then here it is in the trading card, which, by the way, you will be able to get this exclusive free trading card when you sign up. So make sure you do that. You sign up, and then when you get with your physical order, but I'm gonna keep it for a limited time. So if you want it, I back day one if you can, or as soon as you can if you want that trading card. But you get a glimpse of what happened in World War III. Here are some of the heroes that fought during the war. They're known as the Crusader Corps. And I would love to do a prequel. As I was planning out the world, I wanted to do, as I was like, wow, this is a story in itself. And so I'm definitely going to do a prequel story set during World War III as well. But let's sell this one first. This was where my heart was. But I wanted to have these characters. I intentionally made this like kind of similar to the Justice League show intro, mixed with some other stuff like that. They're shining heroic ideals that are larger than life is how I wanted to portray the heroes that fought in World War III. Whereas then you contrast with the present, and he will be like that one day. But for now, he's in a hoodie. He's beaten up.
This art looks fantastic, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, man.
So who's your artist?
So my main artist, his name is Philip Cruz. And then my colorist is Jesse Hagee.
The colors are fantastic.
Yeah, I was telling my colorist, I'm like, dude, everyone loves your stuff. Finding a great colorist is really key, and you gotta pay damn good artists. You
do. Cost a lot to get it done right, doesn't it?
Yeah, but the results are. Hopefully, I'll make it back because enough people like it so much, and it's eye catching.
Well, first issues are evergreen.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the things is this will always be my first impression, which is the intimidating part because it means that even if I write stuff, I would hope that my first comic is not my best comic. That doesn't mean that it's not going to be great. But if I never improve after issue 1, it might be a problem. So here's our first variant cover. Rainey is going to be doing one. There will be more. And then here's my creative team. And you will see. I struggle to not show too much. There is an art contest, by the way, guys. Phenomenova art contest. Use that hashtag. I have a few people that are participating. I've had people that like my trading card artist, I literally hired, and she's like, can I participate? I'm like, can you? You want to give me more art after I've paid you to? Yeah. Like, what am I going to say? No? Yeah. She's like, am I allowed? I'm like, yeah. Everyone's allowed to participate in my art contest,
Yeah, this looks absolutely phenomenal, man.
Thank you. Yeah.
Looks phenomenal.
Yep, you're not the first one to make that joke. I know. Phenomenal. That's one of the things I was wondering if people were going to start thinking that it was phenomenal. It's not. That's not it's phenomenon. Phenomenova.
Yeah, Phenomenova.
But it does. Yeah. And again, it's not that hard of one of the things with the logo too was making sure that you took an 11-letter name and made it easy to read
and interesting. Yeah.
And I think they did that.
Yeah, I think you're doing a good job, Vaughn.
Thank you.
I've really enjoyed getting to know you today.
Thank you.
This is the first time we've really actually talked. Mm-hmm. You have a lot of great insights for being such a young guy. You give me hope for the future of comic books.
Everybody has. Everybody has. The older you get, the more you make.
We had Jens Richard pop in the back. He's got a book on Fun My Comic called Bunny.
Jens.
Bunny, Jens.
Are you there?
Jens or Jens?
There he is.
Hey.
Jens, how you doing, man?
I'm cooking for the people at my home here and the family. But I was just like, Luke, you were talking about passion, and I was like, oh, I do get that. I really, really do get that. So many people who's in this business and trying to get into this business just for the money grab, or just for the big fame they want or something. But people with real passion for the art, for the comic creation you're doing together and becoming friends, that was I have achieved with Bunny and the team there, especially Nathan, the lead artist. And I am blessed by that, and I'm so lucky about that. And you are right, Luke, it's rare. I have tried the opposite. I have tried the drama. I have tried people deleting all progress in anger of someone saying something stupid online that wasn't even in context. and I have to try to swipe around and try to save whatever was left, and with the honor of the project and such, and the entire project just died. So yeah, as a small timer, I have tried being around everything that you talked about, and it's heartbreaking, because if you are passionate as I am, well, you take it, as you also stated, you take it personal, because this is personal, because you want this, and when people just don't get it or just take advantage, or if the chemistry between two people just doesn't work, well, that's fair, and you have to admit that and say, okay, this doesn't work. But
when you hire someone, or even if you're loosely associated in some kind of a group with someone, and they then kind of get the right to represent and speak on behalf of your work. We recently had an issue where an artist, and we had to talk about it a couple of weeks ago, that people had hired and were working with, and we actually have Manticore, who's in the chat, has to redo a book because the artist, turns out they've got a pretty nefarious past that is something very difficult to look past and to look beyond in this industry, or any industry, that could adversely affect the work that they're trying to do with their book, because now that person becomes an unofficial spokesperson, or the face of their work. Mm-hmm. It's difficult, that a hashtag or a fandom group can adversely affect the way your book is perceived, or the way you're able to sell to the generalized audience. Sometimes you just have to walk away, mm-hmm. and you have to focus on your brand, and you have to, you have to set up those fail safes and those barriers to say, no, we're going to run everything under contract, which, by the way, do you guys use contracts, Vaughn, Jens?
Yeah. We are on contract, and the funny thing about my contract, I cannot quote it exactly, but it goes like the artist has the final say and will respect the vision from the writers and portray it as best they can in visual arts, and the writer has the final say in story and character and will respect the artist's knowledge of visual knowledge to portray his vision. I have that in all contracts, and I'm the one paying the artist to tell me what works and what doesn't work, and I will respect that because I'm paying him to be in the lead of that.
Yeah, that's a great relationship to have. I'm doing that right now with Tony Armour, with the Terminal Kill book. Is, he is a screenwriter, director, and so he's kind of adapted his movie for graphic novel. But Vaughn, as you'll be able to attest, it's not the same.
No.
When you write a scene for a movie, you might think, oh, here's one page, but that's really 2 or 3 pages.
Yeah.
And that's what we've run into. Some pages were 5 pages because it was like, here's what's happened in panel 1, and it's a paragraph of action. And it's like, yeah, I can't do that in 1 page. I can't do that in 1 page at all.
And I think I took my script into PowerPoint, and I make PowerPoint bubbles everywhere as a layout for the comic, and I put the description in all the layouts to get the visualization of how a comic panel will be, how much content can I put into it. And I learned a lot of that. And the artist will have a rough age of the page layout and how many panels and where I think they are, but he will do whatever he does. But it gives me as the writer, you cannot just write and then he throw a thing and then he jumps up in the air and then he falls down again in the same panel. That doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that, does it?
If you do it like a shadow and he's just jumping, but if you want something, you have to understand how they work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember like one of the things, and it actually deepened my love for both mediums, the comic book medium. It wasn't like, oh, you know what? Comics suck. I'm back to movie. No, it was more like, oh, okay, I can't really do this in a comic. Here's what I can do in a comic that I can't do in a movie. And so it made me love film more and comics more. And I love my appreciation for both grew. Like there was one scene, it's now a deleted scene. Thankfully, one of my many, earlier drafts where the main character puts this crystal in a box and puts it under a desk. And I just wrote, puts it in a box under his desk, the screenplay version of it. Then when I'm translating it to a comic book, I realized, okay, so wait, how would it be? Open, close, panel, like, and I realized like the way you pace even simple actions in a comic has to be so deliberate. And it's such a tiny scene that wasn't significant at all, but that scene changed the way I looked at everything.
Right. Yeah. It's you got to think the comic artist is a little bit like a cinematographer because they are trying to capture a mood of that action. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you want to, like I just did a page where I could have ended it with one thing, right? But I'm like, no, we need to, if this was a camera, I would zoom in right on that face, right? Like big shot, then zoom in right before the end of the page turn into this big action scene. And so that's what I did. I'm like, then here we go, kind of situation. And
that is so true.
Which is why it's such a beautiful art form.
It's a beautiful art form.
And you've got to have passion about it. You've got to want to do it because there's going to be times when you're not making money and you don't really make much money on your first issue. If you break even, you're going to be very lucky. I'm going to guess with
that's a reality I've been accepting. I've accepted it now.
Yeah.
I really hope that I will get break even. I have $4,000 out there now and nothing to point it back.
Well, $4,000 is cheap for a comic book.
Oh, that's
not for a hobby. For a hobby and for a spare time thing and taking the money directly out of the budget for the family food. That's a lot.
It's a lot. It is a lot, but for instance, one of the guys I'm working with, we're close to 200 pages of this book. He has paid half of my salary for a year.
Wow.
So he's $25,000 into this book.
Wow.
He must have something very powerful behind him. He's more than a regular day job as a caretaker.
He's in the film industry, so he's got a little bit extra money. But most people don't pay for 200 pages up front, right? But that's what he's done. He's paid for 200 pages up front so that he can have this storyboarded and ready to go. And it's a lot of work. I mean, it gets expensive, and I know $20,000 for a floppy is what one of my friends paid for his book. And so it can get quite expensive. And when you get to the point where you realize I'm not going to make that and the money to print and fulfill off of my first issue, crowdfund probably, right? My first book, I didn't start making money on hybrids until I was 3 books in. By the time I was 3 books in, I actually started making profit on that book. So that took a while. But I understood that it was an investment of love and time, that I wanted to make it the best I could. And, there's still days when I'm going to lose money on that. We have to do new barcodes for Amazon. So I have to reprint the book for that. After I've got 3,000 copies printed for a distribution deal that sucked, right? It didn't happen. So, so now I've got to reprint the cover for Amazon. And I'm like, well, hopefully I'll make money off of that so I can pay for that. But it's all part of the business. It's all part of what we do.
Are we still trying to stay under 3 hours?
We are. Guys, we have got 3.5 minutes here. I think it's a good time for us to go ahead and wrap this up. Vaughn, it's been great having you with us today.
Great being here.
That link for the MailChimp is in the chat.
You can also go to RebelOasisStudios.com.
Can I jump in here for a quick sec, just before we leave?
Yep, 1 sec.
Okay, Vaughn, one of the best young creators I know. Genuine person, excellent individual, friendly, kind, amazing person. Support him. Get on his mailing list. Do that. Buy the book.
Rebel Oasis Studios, folks.
Rebel Oasis Studios, guys. I have high hopes for Vaughn.
Thank you.
I do. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you.
I'm in your corner on this one, man. I think
you.
you're going to be doing great. Jens has a book over on Fund My Comic.
Yeah.
Go check that out.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Bunny Rabbit.
Bunny the rabbit. Bunny the Darkborn Rabbit.
Bunny.
Yep. Go check it out. Vaughn will be launching the 29th at 7 p.m. On Rainey's channel. And so get over there, and we'll be back in that book for certain. And on March 1st, we have Shadow Kingdom going live.
Tomorrow.
Don't forget to check that out.
Shadow Kingdom over fundmycomic.com, folks.
You launch tonight at 7.
Check it out. We launched tonight.
Oh,
Vaughn launches tonight. Tonight's the 29th.
March 29th.
March 29th. Okay.
Oh, you thought I launched? I was like, no.
I thought you were launching tonight. I was like, crap.
No.
Let's get that going.
We launch tomorrow. Shadow Kingdom. Vaughn launches on the 29th.
Mr. Berger speaks highly of Vaughn.
Well, Mr. Berger, I speak highly of Mr. Berger. Let me do that for a moment. Mr. Berger is the man. Such a fun interview. If you haven't seen that, check that on my channel. But most importantly, check out his channel and check out his project. He's
got a project.
I've been meaning to get on his show, but it's like I haven't gotten on it yet. But I'd love to get on his show.
Guys, there's a lot of good books over on Fund My Comic. Don't forget to check that out. Fundmycomic.com.
Yep.
New stuff launching every day. It's that time of year. It's going to be busy. There's going to be some exclusives. If you have a project that you consider launching on a crowdfund, please consider Fund My Comic for your initial launch. If you do come in and launch that book for your first 30 days exclusive on Fund My Comic, you get a 2% platform fee. It is hard to beat that, guys. It really is. But with that, we do have to let you go. Remember, guys, build up more than you tear down. Leave that wood pile higher than you found it. And by all means, my friends, please be careful out there.
Let's be careful out there. Let's be careful out there.